Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for waiting. There was a very loud helicopter and I wanted to make sure it was gone. But it's gone now, I think. I don't know, it was there for a couple minutes, but yeah, it looks like we're okay. We're safe. Maybe. I'm sure it won't show up again later. But welcome, everyone! Welcome, welcome, welcome! It's time for our seasonal anime review. We've finished up the fall 2023 season, and now we're hopping into the winter 2024, which is crazy. So, yeah, there's a lot of really good shows that I want to talk about, that I want to share with y'all with some of my favorites. There's a very important a somewhat lengthy tangent we're gonna go on at some point during this, so I look forward to that. Nothing ominous there. And yeah, besides that, I hope that this will be a fun time just going through all of the best, at least like for me, the shows that I loved the most. And yeah, just sharing some recommendations with y'all. So I think it'll be very, very good. As some of you may know, I watch entirely too much anime every season. So hopefully these anime reviews will be helpful to share what I think folks might be interested in, especially since I watch such a large variety of shows that you might, I don't know, find out something new that you hadn't heard of before. So yeah, that's kind of my hope with these, is that I can turn all of the hours that I have spent watching anime from the last season and the upcoming season, and yeah, share some of my favorites with y'all. So, are y'all ready? We got some good ones coming up here. From fall of 2023. Oh my gosh, y'all, there were some, whoo! There were some crazy ones, some really good ones from this last season. I've already talked a little bit in my last one about some of my first impressions of these. I have now watched the first core, or I guess like the first 12 episodes of some of these. And yeah, whew! There were a lot of really good shows this last season, y'all. It's very good. Painful, it's exactly it. It's not watching anime, it's product research, exactly. What I'm doing is I'm doing science for you all. I'm wading through all of the anime, I'm researching and studying it, and then I'm returning to you all with the results of my findings, in case it's very helpful for you. Okay. So, without putting this off too much longer, I think you all can probably guess what my number one anime from the fall, and honestly of the year, and if I'm being totally real, of many, many years was. I don't think this will come as too much of a surprise. Gee, I wonder. Maybe it's something that starts with an F. A Frieren. Yeah, it's Frieren. Okay, so when I was first talking about the show, I had only seen 4 episodes of it, and I already was absolutely in love with it. It was unbelievable. I have now watched, I guess at this point in time, how many episodes are there? There's like 17, 18 that are now out. Ooh. Frieren is, really good, y'all. Like, at least for me personally, I would put it in the same camp as something like Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, which is one of the highest honors that I can give. Essentially, I think Frieren is one of these shows that's a masterpiece. It's unbelievable. Like, there's so many things that I'm going to get into for why I think it deserves to have this status, but I think that not only is the story and the characters and the narrative and the meaning behind things so wonderful, I think that it's just really impactful Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is considered to be one of the best series ever with anime, and I think it deserves that title because it's not only extremely well written, but I also think that it's something that everyone can get something from by watching it. There's not only really good battles in it if you're really into battles and shonen and things like that, but there's also very compelling stories as far as the world building and how everything is set up. There's a lot of really well-written politics and anti-war sentiment in it, and they just do such a good job of drawing you into the world that is Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. It is wonderful, and I suggest that everyone should check it out, and I cannot believe that I have another show that I think that everyone should check out. But it's Frieren. I think that everyone should watch Frieren, and I'm going to try and make a case for this over the next couple minutes. This will be my sales pitch. My sales pitch, completely unsponsored, for why I think everyone should watch Frieren. Because I think that there's a little bit of something for everyone in this series, and I think it's a very important message that you can get from watching this. Which is also why I would suggest watching Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, because there's a lot of really good messaging in it. It's extremely poignant and transformative, and yeah, it's good. Homie, I'm already sold. Okay, that's good. Let me sell you some more. I'll throw in some extras. That's good to hear. Good to hear that some of the sales pitch is already working. But just in case you're not convinced, I have more for you. I have more things to say about Frieren. Okay, so let's talk about Frieren. Frieren, the overall messaging of the show, it's about making the most of the present and letting go of regret. This is such a beautiful message. I can't even begin to explain how wonderful it is to see a show that acknowledges that even if there are things in your past that you look back on and you feel bad for not making different decisions, you still have a life to live. You can keep going and moving forward and making different choices. It's so good. It's amazing. So yeah, I think that the message of Frieren is so good by itself, it merits checking out. They do a really good job of communicating this, not just in the way that the story is told, but the animation sells it really well. The voice acting is incredible, and God, they have so much restraint. Oh, it's really, I don't know, I can understand the temptation of a lot of series to like blow through certain sections or to not hold on certain frames for as long, but it just works in this show because it's important. You as the viewer need some time to think about the things that are happening and what's being said and really process it, and you end up feeling it along with the characters. That's incredible. Like you feel like you're there with them as they're experiencing these things. It's absolutely incredible. But wait, there's more. Frieren works with the eyes. You already have. Exactly. That'll be the new tagline. Gotta just add all of these other sales pitches on, but including that, I have additional things to say about Frieren too. It's not just that this message is fantastic. The series itself is just bursting with charm and character and heart. There are so many wonderful characters in this. The interactions they have with each other, both in flashbacks, which, by the way, the flashbacks are all great, and they always make me cry. They're very, very good. But like the present characters as well, and all sorts of things. And can we just talk about how many amazing, compelling characters there are in this series? Like, this slide could have been filled to bursting. But I wanted to make sure that some of these characters were recognizable still. Some of these characters are brand new in the show. We've only just met them in the most recent episode, at least at the time that I'm filming this with you all. So yeah, woo! There's a lot of really cool characters with interesting things that are going on in their lives. And yeah, I love it. I love shows that can make me care or be interested in a bunch of different characters, and this show really goes above and beyond with that. It feels like a lived-in world. It feels... I could go on and on about this, and I probably will, but... the fact that this feels like a real place, like they put so much time not just into the scenery, but the characters themselves and how they live in and interact with the world. It's wonderful. It's really well written. The original author should be absolutely proud of this accomplishment, and I am so impressed with the people who did the screenwriting and who did all of the animation and all the voice acting and the music for this. It's very good. It's extremely good. But if you're still not sold, if you're like, hey, you talked about action with Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, does this have action? Well, I got some good news for you. There's some insanely well-animated, intense fights in this. They are extremely good. I have been on the edge of my seat in a couple of these. So yeah, they are absolutely fantastic. So if you want to watch a show that has very good fights, Frieren has very good fights. But you may be asking, well, hold on, Yumie. What about the memes? Well, I have some good news for you too. This show is also absurdly memeable. If you just look through, like if you just type in Frieren in like any GIF generator, or any anything that has a bunch of GIFs available, the memes, y'all, this show is absolutely hysterical. There are so many things. There's actually so many memes and funny moments I wasn't even able to include in just this one slide, but like, the animators have put so much time and effort into making this show not just poignant, but extremely funny, and I love it for that. It has a really good balance of comedy and serious tones, and that's really impressive. That was also something I really liked about Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. There was some really good comedy in there. Like, I would be laughing really hard at a couple parts, and then I'd be sobbing. So, like, you know, that's always a good sign. But yeah, anyway, in case you wanted the memes, there's lots of memes. They're very good. So anyway, all of this is just to say that there's something for everyone in Frieren, and I adore it to death. So please, if there is a show that you check out from this entire presentation, and trust me, there will be a lot of really fun ones that you should check out. But if you only have the time to check out one, and I understand, life is busy, please make sure you go watch Frieren. It's really, really good. You should check it out. I promise it will be worth your time in at least some capacity. It's just one of those series that is a masterpiece. And if you really like the series, you should go check out the manga too. The manga is really good. The anime is also excellent. The entire property is so fantastic. So yeah, it's good. Frieren the Slayer. Weakness mimics. I do love that she keeps falling for the mimics just on the off chance that there might be something inside a treasure chest. I almost said treasure chance. Chance for treasure chest, not treasure chance. But yeah, anyway, that was my sales pitch for Frieren. I hope that is good and that you all check it out because it's very much worth your time. And yeah, I don't know. I don't have much more to say about it without just rambling about it for an hour, and I've got so many other shows to talk about. So I hope that this is helpful for anyone who is curious now that I've actually watched more of the show. It has only become more solidified as a legendary piece of animation. So yeah, absolutely go and check it out. The OP for both series is incredible. The ED is the same between the two, just different like parts of the song. And it makes me cry. Like every time, it's really good. Oh man, it is absolutely fantastic. So yeah, Frieren rambling stream. Yep, indeed. It's already kind of become that. I've talked for almost 15 minutes just about Frieren, so. But good. Good. I'm glad y'all are adding it to your list of anime. I'm glad you're sold. My mission is complete. Okay, so let's say that you go and you watch Frieren, and you're like, okay, that was incredible. I'm crying now. I want something else. I want something that's really good. What can I watch, Yumie? Well, let me present my second favorite of fall 2023. It's the Apothecary Diaries. Okay, y'all. I was taken completely by surprise with this series. I didn't know what to expect, but it has become my second favorite of fall 2023, and honestly, it's one of my favorites of the whole year. It is absolutely incredible. For one thing, this poster art for this, oh, it's so good. It's so good. And yeah, the show in general does not disappoint. Okay, so let me walk you through the premise of this so you know kind of what's going on. So this series, even though it does feature Japanese voice acting, it is set in a fictional version of Imperial China. So the entire show is taking place primarily within the imperial court, where the emperor and servants and concubines live. And then there's also portions that take place nearby the imperial palace as well. But yeah, it is a fictional version of Imperial China, but it is still leaning heavily on historical events as well as like historical things that would have been true of that period of time. So the series itself is centering around Mao Mao, who is an eccentric apothecary, to say the least, who is forced to work in the rear palace. She actually grew up in the red light district that's nearby the imperial palace. She knows a lot of people who work there, although she didn't work there herself. She was working with her father, who was a doctor in the red light district. And she ends up, through a series of circumstances, being forced to work in what is called the rear palace of the imperial court, which is where the emperor's concubines live. And yes, that is a topic they address quite a bit in this series. So the series as a whole is Mao Mao beginning to live and work in the imperial palace, working with and alongside the concubines as an apothecary, and she is beginning to unravel medical mysteries that are plaguing the imperial palace. And it is so good. I was completely surprised. I did not expect to be as drawn into this as I was, but it is wonderful. It is fantastic. They do such a good job of balancing political, historical intrigue with what I can only describe as Sherlock Holmes-esque problem solving. Like, there are so many episodes where Mao Mao is like, all right, we're gonna figure out what's going on here. And it's really fun as a viewer, because there's some things that if you know certain things about medicine, or if you know certain things about history, you're able to be like, oh, wait, I think I know what's wrong. But it's still really fun because you feel validated if that ends up being the case, or you're like, oh, I actually didn't know that. That's super cool. But it's really good. You also get to learn a lot about imperial politics, which are really rough, y'all. Oh my god. There's a lot of really messed up stuff that happens, it turns out, when you have an emperor in charge and a bunch of concubines that are all kind of vying to be the empress. And yeah, they dive into that quite a bit. So this series, I do want to compliment it on doing an excellent job showcasing the complicated plight of women throughout this entire series. It's not just the concubines, but people who are servants, people who are trying to be apothecaries, like Mao Mao. There is a lot of really complicated and rough things that people have to live through in this time. And it's really satisfying and fascinating to watch Mao Mao trying to fight through that to be a doctor. Like, she's trying to live this life that she wants to live, while also having to make a lot of compromises to do that. And yeah, it's really excellent. I would highly, highly recommend this series. It is so good. Also, I don't want to make it seem like the series is just super serious. It's not. There's a lot of comedy here too. Mao Mao is a gremlin. She is a constant delight, and I love her to death. I know I talked about Frieren being very memeable, but I would argue that Apothecary Diaries is just as much so. It is super funny. There are so many great moments in it. Mao Mao is an absolute delight. I love her. There are so many things that she does that I'm like, oh, Mao Mao, only you. But I love it. It's so good. Yes, exactly. A little freak in a complimentary way. Yes, no, she is absolutely wonderful. So for real, I would highly suggest checking this out. And if you're still not sold, I have to say that the animation is incredible in this series. Like, I'm about to show you, unfortunately, it's a very compressed because GIFs have a tendency of being compressed. But if this inspires you to go and check out the show, that's great. So you can see the higher res version. But yeah, hey y'all, look at this OP. Oh my god, this is the OP to the show. This is insane. It's incredible. The first time that I watched this, I was stunned. Like, I just kind of sat there watching this being like, what? This is incredible. I can't even imagine how much time and work they spent putting into this. So yeah, it is beautiful. And yeah, definitely check out a higher res version because this is very compressed, unfortunately. But yeah, hopefully it gets the point across that it's very, very good. Oh, but yes, no worries. If y'all at least have it on your lists, that's totally fine. I understand. Life gets busy. Never thought soup would be that mesmerizing. Indeed. Indeed, there are some interesting moments with Soup and Mao Mao testing out things, so yeah. This series is wonderful. I would absolutely highly recommend watching it. Both Apothecary Diaries and Frieren, they both have 2 core, so that means that they're gonna have about like 24 to 25 episodes. I think Frieren technically has 28? I think it's 28 or 27 because they released 4 episodes all at once. So that's kind of wild. They're gonna have a lot of episodes. But yeah, if you still want to watch it, it's still ongoing right now. So perfect. Yes, I did remember it. Thank you all for confirming that. Frieren is 28. Okay, I remember that correctly. Whereas Apothecary Diaries should be 24. So 12 to a core. So yeah, it's still ongoing and it's really good, and y'all should go and check it out. If you have the chance, I would highly recommend it. Okay, so we still have some really good anime to talk about. So let's talk about Dark Gathering. I've talked a little bit about this already. It was ongoing from last season, but it continued into this season. We're gonna change gears slightly as we talk about this because this is pure horror. I talked about this a little bit in the last review, but this is absolutely spectacular horror. It's still got the really big Monster of the Week vibes, which is pretty fun in some ways, but also leads to very terrifying situations. That being said, it is building up into a bigger narrative, especially in the second core. They really dive into kind of the overall goal of the series, which I think is great. But the reason I'm bringing it up again here is because, the first 12 episodes were scary and disturbing, which you would expect from a horror series. I gave some warnings about that. If you are interested in watching this, I do want to give an additional warning. The second core, multiplies the disturbing factor. Holy cow, there were a couple of episodes where Bear and I were just sitting there in complete silence, just kind of glancing over at each other like, oh my god. no, this got really dark. So yeah, please be conscientious of that. There's some very terrifying things that happen and some very disturbing things that happen very quickly into the second core. So I just want to give you all heads up. If you do want to watch horror, this is very good, but please be prepared. The horror that you see in the first core is going to be multiplied once you get to the second core, which is kind of wild because the first core was already a little disturbing. But yeah, it's very good. So anyway, just wanted to give a heads up on that. Please be conscientious. That's a great question, Gabriel. I would say the second core is comparable insofar as there's some very disturbing imagery that happens. And I wouldn't necessarily say that Junji Ito is the most fair comparison because a lot of his stuff is more creeping horror. It's like things that build and build and they become worse and worse. Whereas this is just gonna hit you with like really disturbing plot lines. So yeah, and I am thinking more of like Junji Ito manga. I actually have never watched the anime, mostly because the manga is just so good. A lot of Junji Ito's works I think are best consumed in manga form. The anime is definitely okay, but I think that it's a lot scarier in the manga just because he's such a talented mangaka and he's got a lot of really good assistants who are able to help him out. But yeah, this I would say is disturbing on a different axis. I don't know that I've ever read a work of his that disturbed me in the way that this did. It was a different type of horror that really got to me in this one. So, yeah. Anyway, if you're looking for good horror, this is a good one. Just please be prepared. It gets really disturbing through some parts of this. So, yeah. Anyway, just wanted to give you all heads up on that. Okay, moving on from horror and disturbing things to a different type of dark comedy. I want to talk about Undead Unluck. So this is technically a battle shonen, but it's more of a dark battle shonen. They play around a lot with some really dark themes in this, but I think they do a very good job in it. It is a wild ride from start to finish. It is a lot of comedic moments, a lot of really good battle moments, but ultimately I'd probably put it as like a dark comedy is mostly what I would categorize it as. So, what I will say about Undead Unluck is that it is a series that gets better the longer that it goes on. So, I don't know that it has the strongest start, and I mean that. Like, I think this show doesn't really take off until, like, at least episode 4, and that's kind of a big ask. Like, if you are able to make it through 4 episodes, you're probably already committed to it, but, like, that's a lot, especially when there's a lot of shows that are coming out. So I would say if the premise of this interests you, like a show that's a dark comedy, that's got a lot of really fun battles, that's that's trying to have fun and also be serious in certain moments, try to get through a couple episodes, but do know that if you think the first couple episodes are a little iffy, even fans of the show, like really big fans of the show, acknowledge that the beginning is pretty rough and it gets a lot better as time goes on. In particular, one thing I do want to mention is that Undead is the star of the show. He is like the whole thing that's holding it together for a lot of the first couple episodes. Whereas Unluck, who is our female lead, she really struggles to find her footing until I would say like episode 6 or 7. That's really late. Like That's like half of the series. It does have a second core that's still ongoing, but like 6 episodes for her to start like really meaningfully doing things is kind of important. Up to that point, she's more of like a plot convenience, and that's kind of a bummer because I feel like they could have done more with her character before that point, but she kind of just like reacts to things. She doesn't really do anything proactively until later. But thankfully, as the series goes on, things do start getting a lot better, to the point that I do actually want to recommend this. There are a couple of episodes that start happening a little later in the series that were so good and so heartfelt that I wanted to shout it out, because I think that if you only watch a couple of episodes, you'll never get to these. And I think that's a shame because they were really good. I cried through some of these. They were excellent. They did a really good job of trying to tie together some emotion and heart to this. So yeah, it's very, very good. I was very pleased with how things went. I'm not going to say that there aren't some problems with it. It definitely has some ups and downs, but I do think that overall it gets really good as time goes on. And if you want something that's a dark battle shonen, you might as well give it a shot. You can check out a couple episodes, see what you think, and I would say if you get to episode 4 and you're like, this still isn't my thing, that's totally fine. I'd say that you don't need to continue watching. But if you get to episode 4 and you're like, oh, that was actually pretty good, I want to see where this goes from here, I would say keep watching it. I think it's worth your time. And I wanted to shout it out as a result of that, because I know that I had a couple of moments watching some of the first episodes where I'm like, man, it's okay. It's well enough animated, but I don't really know where the story is going. But yeah, like I'd say the main plot picks up around episode 4, and you start having compelling character moments. So yeah, I figured I'd shout it out as a result of that. Okay, switching gears again. Totally different genre from that, but something I wanted to shout out as a more laid-back, relaxing show is My New Boss is Goofy. This show was so charming. It's really, really sweet, and it's so nice to watch as like a palate cleanser or something where you're just trying to wind down for an evening. The show itself is about healing from workplace abuse, which I think is pretty poignant. I think that's pretty good to talk about. It's a series that's focusing on a character who came from an abusive workplace. So they had a boss who was really terrible to them, to the point where he developed ulcers and had to be hospitalized, and he ends up realizing that he doesn't want to continue working there. So he leaves for a different workplace, and it's lovely to see him actually getting to experience what it's like to have a good boss who cares about you, who's hoping that you're going to be doing okay, who supports you, and I think that's really nice. It's very good. Very, very good. So yeah, I thought this was a really heartwarming, relaxing show. It's also got some big gay vibes. Which I'm always a fan of. It's always nice. It's refreshing to see. And there is an actual canonical bisexual character. There's so few of us that are represented. It makes me so happy. And he's a good person, and he's funny, and he's interesting. It's so great. No, gasp. It's wonderful. There's dozens of us. Dozens. But yeah, anyway, I kind of lost it when because like sometimes shows will like imply that someone is bi, or they'll be like, oh, well, maybe they're into this. But no, he just like canonically is like, oh yeah, here's pictures of my girlfriend, like my ex-girlfriend, and here's pictures of my ex-boyfriend. And you're like, oh, delightful. I see. Warning hand-holding, indeed. Oh, God. But yeah, no, it's fantastic, y'all. I know I need to breathe. I'm too excited over here. But yeah, it's very good. I was very pleased by this and very pleasantly surprised. So yeah, that was very, very good. I feel like there's this unfortunate tendency of some series that they still hold on to this idea that like any characters that are bisexual are like deviants in some way. And like, I resent that. I resent that quite a bit. I'm a deviant for other reasons. Excuse me. Excuse me. I watch entirely too much anime all the time, and then I talk about it for many hours. I actually don't think that makes me a deviant. That just means that I like to ramble about stuff that I like. So anyway, it's refreshing. It's very nice to see like an actual bi character in a series like this. So yeah, love it. Fantastic. One thing that I will say about this series is I do think they stumble a little bit with one of the bosses. I don't necessarily think he's a good or like unobtrusive boss. He's a little needy to the point of being massively unprofessional. Like, there's things that he does where I'm like, my dude, do I need to call you into HR? This is not how you conduct yourself. We need to talk about this. So yeah, anyway, that being said, he still tries very hard to at least be understanding. So I guess he'll sort of get a pass, but I figured I should mention it since it's a show about trying to have good bosses. And I don't know that this one is necessarily good. He's trying though. I think that the show does hit enough of their premise that it's still a really fun watch. And I did love winding down with this in the evening. So yeah, if you're looking for something that's really relaxing, I would definitely suggest checking this out. I think that y'all would enjoy it. Okay, before we hop into this next section, everyone, it's time for a hydration check really quick. I've been really excited talking about stuff. So I'm gonna take a quick drink break and then we'll hop into the next segment of our anime review. Okay, all right, y'all. Next segment. It's the sequel corner. Yes, indeed. It is hydration time. Good work, everyone. But yeah, I think that this is something that I might not always do, because sometimes I think that I want to spend more time talking about a sequel, especially if it's something that hasn't been adapted for a little bit. I kind of did that in some of the previous reviews, but I think that this will just be more of a quick overview of some of the sequels that I personally really loved and things that I wanted to shout out here. So yeah, I figured I'd talk through a couple of these a little more quickly than some of the other sections, and then we've got another segment that we'll be hopping into for fall 2023. So yeah. Okay. So the first one, it is the second part of season 2 of The Ancient Magus Bride. I have talked about this show a little bit in previous anime reviews. There's a lot of things I love about this series. There's some things I don't, like Elias, but there are enough things that I love that I think that it is still worth at least talking about, because if you've enjoyed this series before, I think that they wrapped up season 2 amazingly. From what I've heard, the original author works pretty closely with the animation studio when they're producing these, and I feel like you can really see that because they get a really good vibe of the characters as well as where the story is going in the future. And yeah, it's really good. I was so happy with how this turned out. Also, the OP for the second part of season 2 is my favorite Magus Bride OP. It is stupid good. Like, I just watch it sometimes on its own because it's so good. It makes me so happy. Like, it's a really good synthesis of Chisei taking a lot of the things that she's learned, and actually expanding on them. So she has grown a lot as a person, and you get to see the results of that in season 2. And that's lovely. I think that's very, very good. So yeah, I wanted to shout that out now that it's complete. You can go and check that out if it's a show that you're interested in. Something I will say is that we probably won't see a season 3 for probably another 5 or 6 years, because the original author works really closely with the studio who puts this together. They tend to work right up to where the manga is currently at. So, yeah, there's a little bit more after this, but the original author actually has to write more before we will get more of this, and that's okay. That is just fine by me. Everyone can take their time putting these things together. So yeah, anyway, what I'm trying to say is you have plenty of time to check this out if you are interested in it. We almost certainly will not get a season 3 for at least several more years, so you have plenty of time. Another thing I wanted to shout out was Spy Family. If you weren't aware, Spy Family did get a season 2. It was very fun. It adapted an arc that I really, really love, the cruise ship arc. They did a pretty good job with it. I know that I'm a bit of a manga snob about this series. I do think the manga is better, but that's because I love the art of the manga and the pacing is really good, but the anime is still totally fine. So yeah. You should check it out if you haven't had a chance to watch this yet. I think that you will enjoy it. And if you do enjoy the series, check out the manga. It's really good. You can actually read it for free. There's this cool thing that Jump Plus does where they have an app, which is very easy to read. You can download the app, and then for free, for the first time, you can read through the entirety of this and all of their other titles, some of which we'll be getting to later in this. So yeah, anyway, again, that's not sponsored. That's just a random plug for that. But that's how I like reading this, is just going and checking it out, because it supports the original creator too. So yeah, anyway, it's good. Also check out the manga, it's very good too. And then Jujutsu Kaisen, which we're not gonna talk about until later. A little bit of foreshadowing for you all. We're gonna talk about Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 at the end of our seasonal anime review. So look forward to that. Oh my god, System Philosophy, thank you so much for reminding me. Oh my god, I meant to put a slide in here and then this presentation got really long. Thank you for reminding me. Okay, so if you all aren't aware, the person who voice acts Anya in Spy Family is the same person who voice acts Frieren in Frieren and Chisei in The Ancient Magus Bride. That woman has some range. She has played several main characters from several shows from this season that I loved. Thank you for reminding me about that. I was completely shocked when I learned that, but yeah. She's extremely talented. So yeah, she plays Anya, Frieren, and Chisei, which is crazy. Absolutely crazy. The voice actress for Anya in Spy Family. Let me go pull up. Unfortunately, my brain is failing me. You all will see why later in this presentation. I have spent a lot of my brain energy on a particular portion of this, so give me 1 second. Some of y'all might end up getting this before me, but let's go pull up Anya voice actress. Okay. Sorry, my phone is taking a little bit to load. Atsumi Tanezaki. She plays all 3 of them in Japanese, and yeah, it's very, very good. You know, that is true. Himel is also Bakugo. It's kind of wild. Voice actors and voice actresses are extremely talented, and yeah, they do really cool work. I'm very impressed with what they do. But anyway, that's a fun little fact if you weren't aware of that. I thought that was really cool that those voice actresses were the same for all these different roles. So yeah. Anyway, look forward to this at the end of our seasonal anime review. Definitely nothing ominous there. But anyway, moving on. We've gotten through a lot of our serious things. We've gotten through some of my favorites from the season, but there's still a couple more shows that we need to talk about, and they have their own special category here. It's the Kuso-Anime time. If you are unfamiliar with the Kuso-Anime, this is a term that I have come up with. It is what I use to refer to anime that are difficult to recommend normally, but they are deeply hysterical, especially with some drinks. So, shows that I have a really hard time justifying recommending in some ways, but I also want to recommend them for a variety of reasons, so... Anyway, let's hop into our Kuso-Anime of fall 2023. Our very first one that we're going to spotlight here is Shangri-La Frontier. Holy cow, y'all. This show has literally no right to being as good as it is. Like, I need to express to you all how ridiculous it is that I am recommending this show for you all to watch. This show is about a high schooler who loves bad VR games, and he is now playing a good VR game for the first time. This is our main character on the left. This is what he looks like in this VR video game. It is something that should be painfully generic and slightly ridiculous, and yet I couldn't stop watching it. This series is way more entertaining than it has any right to be. There are so many good fights in this. There are so many funny moments. The animators care a lot about making sure that they sell you how ridiculous and cool this VR game is and all of the things that are happening inside. It does feel like a very impressive game, and you're like, wow, this is really cool. This is something that would be fun to play if this existed in real life. Oh, don't you worry, Sky. We will still be having a little bit of... Don't you worry, we still have some harem anime to talk about in this section. I had to include this in this section because I don't think I can justify putting this in anything other than the Kuso-Anime section. But don't worry, we'll have some more to talk about here. Oh my word. Oh, thank you so much for the super chat, Sadone. Hello, Yumie Sensei. My recommendation of winter anime is Bang Brave Bravern because it has the potential to be one of the best robot anime in the season. Ooh, I appreciate the recommendation. I will write that down. Thank you. Oh my gosh, I always love getting good recommendations. You know what's really sad? There's a couple of recommendations that you all gave me that I still haven't been able to watch, but I'm looking forward to finishing those soon. So thank you. Thank you for recommending that. I appreciate it. Oh God. But yeah, I've already gotten distracted. Talking about other fun anime. Okay, coming back to Shangri-La. Okay, so this is kind of the epitome of just turn your brain off and enjoy the spectacle shows. So yeah, just... I don't know. The best thing I can say about this is just, oh, excuse me, hold on. I was getting ahead of myself. Just enjoy the spectacle of this. It's very silly and something that you don't have to take too seriously. And if you just want to watch something that's fun and has some funny moments, it's very good. Hell yeah, I'm gonna watch this with my newly bought gin. Perfect. That is absolutely fantastic. Oh God. But yeah, so this is also one of the few series that actually depicts people picking different genders for their avatar. Yo, this is insane. I can't believe that I have to compliment a show on this. This should just be a thing whenever we're talking about MMOs or like gaming in general. How many people like will go online and pick a character who's a different gender? Like, come on, this is like basic stuff. Why don't more series acknowledge this? Like, tons of MMO players in particular pick different genders. Like, listen, when I played back in my day, when I played MMOs, when I played the World of Warcraft for many, many hours of the day, I always played as a male avatar, like all the time. Like I would just be a big beefy paladin and just going around. So like I was absolutely delighted when there was a character in this who was a big beefy paladin who was not a man in real life. And I was like, oh my god, this is wonderful. True to life, let's go. So anyway, I was delighted by this. I feel like this is just like basic. I always think it's really funny whenever they have like a lot of gaming shows, I feel like tend to be like, oh yeah, I'm making an avatar, and then it just looks exactly like you. And I'm not gonna say that this show isn't guilty of that for a couple of the characters, but like by and large, most of them look pretty different. So yeah, it's pretty decent. Oh god, yeah, exactly. A lot of times the male armor does just look better. There's sometimes that I like the female armor. Like, I'm guilty of liking a lot of the female armor in Monster Hunter. I feel like it's pretty fun. Sometimes it's not very functional looking. Like, I look at it and I'm like, you take one swipe from a monster and you're dead. But like... I could still appreciate when things look good too. But yeah, a lot of times like the male armor just looks so badass, and I wanna feel badass. Give me badass armor. Come on, this is ridiculous. So anyway, that's my tangent about MMOs and gaming. You know, quality clay. Oh, that's a great way of putting it. Male armor is indeed better, but the fashionable options are almost always better for female characters. And this is what I'm saying. Why can't it be both? Why can't we have a variety where you can have you can have different things that look good for different people? But anyway, I guess it depends on the game. But when I was playing WoW, I always picked a male avatar because the armor just looked better. Like all the time, the armor just looked better. So anyway. That's what I have to say about that. And I was very happy to see this in this show. So my overall evaluation, I think this show is best enjoyed with the equivalent of at least 2 drinks. Especially at 1.5 to 1.75 speed. If you have the ability to crank it up. Oh man, by the way, if you have the ability to crank it up, watching the OP at 1.75 is hysterical. Absolutely amazing. 10 out of 10. Super funny. Bear and I would get really into it, so... Super good. Okay, so evaluations of best characters. Best daughter. It's gotta go to Emu. She's wonderful. Absolutely fantastic. I adore every time that she's on screen. She's a joy. A wonderful, wonderful character that I'm so happy exists in this series. I adore her to death. Best girl, it's gotta be Ray. It's gotta be Ray. Listen, she's great. She's earnest. She tries her best. She's trying to be, closer to be noticed by the person that she likes while also just like still enjoying her best life. And yeah, I love her. I'm rooting for her. I hope that she's doing okay. Okay, so some of you have guessed the next genre we're going to be talking about in the Kuso-Anime section. It's time to talk about some harem anime. We have one more anime to talk about from 2023. If I'm being totally real, this is a legendary show. This is really good. I actually was kind of upset that I had to put it in this section. I almost just put it in the regular part of this presentation, but it is technically a harem show, and it would be kind of difficult to recommend otherwise. So yeah, it has to be in this section. But I do want to say this series is legendary, and I'm going to explain why. Okay, the show that we are going to talk about, some of you have guessed. It's 100 Girlfriends. In particular, the full title is The 100 Girlfriends Who Really, 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 Really Love You, which is also Dai-Dai-Dai-Dai-Daisuki in Japanese, which is... Oh my god. Okay, I'm gonna talk about this show for a couple of minutes because I absolutely love this show. Y'all, this show, this show is amazing! It is so good! It is so funny! This is one of the best comedies I have seen in years. Every single episode, I was laughing my ass off. It was so damn funny. Oh my god! They just got down the comedic timing. The wildest things came out of everyone's mouths. There were so many incredible moments in this. Oh my god, it was absolutely fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to try and sell you on the show if you haven't already watched it. So this series centers around Rentaro, who is our main character. He has been rejected 100 times during love confessions, which is absurd. Like, frankly, absolutely absurd. Well, it turns out that this absurdity was not intentional. It turns out this was a cosmic mistake. This was not supposed to happen. And to make up for it, our great harem kami-sama has given Rentaro 100 soulmates to make up for it. So yeah, anyway. Absolutely wild. So yeah, this is hysterical. It's one of those premises that sounds a little bit absurd, but the show manages to balance its absolutely bonkers premise with a lot of comedy and genuine wholesomeness. Like, for a show that's about someone who has 100 soulmates, it's crazy genuine and like really endearing. He cares so much about every one of these people, and it's so good, absolutely incredible. So yeah, all of the love interests, which I'm not going to show all of them right here, there are more than just these. But these are just from the first couple, because you know, there's 100 of them. But yeah, all of the love interests are really compelling, and you can't help rooting for all of them. And that is okay, because the show wants you to root for all of them. Like, this is one of those series where instead of having the girls compete with each other for attention and just hating each other and resenting that they're around and tolerating each other's existence, they're all like one big happy family together, and it's beautiful. Like, it's really heartwarming. I love all these characters, and they love each other, and they want to be happy, and like, that's wild. That's wonderful. Like, the author wants all of these characters to just live their best lives together, and they care about each other so deeply and want to build each other up and be their best selves, and that's so wonderful. I don't know, I think it's really charming for that reason. And it's also really clever too, because I feel like with these I feel like these types of shows tend to lean towards, like, I don't know, having characters that will go after each other or like have a lot of animosity, and it's just so refreshing for that not to be the case here. Like, even the two characters that bicker with each other, it's largely playful. They like each other a lot. They like each other a whole lot, which is great. I like that a lot. This series is overall just one of the most funny, wholesome harem shows I have ever watched, and I am obsessed with it. Absolutely obsessed. It is so good. in fact, I am going to put this on the record. Officially for you all here. Let it be known, in my humble opinion, for me personally, I think that 100 Girlfriends is on the same level as the legendary Monster Musume. I have for a long time considered Monster Musume to be one of the god kings of harem anime. It's one of those series where you kind of love all of the characters and you want them to be happy, and by and large they get to be happy, and that's incredible. This show is also that, but with a different twist. And anyway, I am now proclaiming both of these the god kings of harem anime. This is, let it be known that I think that 100 Girlfriends and Monster Musume are the god kings of harem anime. I would say Monster Musume is definitely a lot more lewd, and that's not to say that 100 Girlfriends isn't. God knows that it is. But yeah, I think that 100 Girlfriends leans a lot more into like the comedy wholesome elements, and then Monster Musume is leaning into different comedy, then it is still extremely enjoyable. So anyway, I definitely don't have a Mia figure that's sitting on my desk. Just my little snack shrine, just hanging out over here. So anyway, this is coming from me, this is high praise. I think that this is a very good show, and I would highly recommend checking it out if you haven't already. Especially if you've watched Monster Musume and some aspects of it you were like, oh, I wish there was maybe a little more comedy in certain ways. Go check out 100 Girlfriends. I think you'll really enjoy it. I think it's very good. Of course, the Snack Lady will have a fellow Snack Lady as a figurine. Exactly. That was actually a really delightful Christmas present from Bear. It was a really big box, and I opened it up. I think it was last year's Christmas, and yeah, I started crying because I think it was a 7th scale figure, and those are pretty decently big, and it was really difficult for him to track it down, but he knew I would like it, so yeah, anyway, kudos to Bear. He knew exactly what I wanted, so yeah. Oh, indeed, snack together strong. Exactly. Exactly. Okay. With that, we have finished fall 2023. I know that there were some shows that I was not able to get around to. Honestly, it was a really busy season for me. I was trying to put together lore archives, so there were a couple of shows that I haven't checked out. So if I haven't mentioned something here, I am going to be trying to check out the stuff I haven't watched, but I also wanted to make sure that I did at least cover the things I have watched so that you all can go and check these out, because let me tell you, that's still a lot of things to recommend for you to watch. So yeah. Just to go through these again, just as like a quick refresher, just in case you want to return to this later. The shows that I think are legendary is Frieren, which I have discussed at length. I think that it is one of the best anime series I have ever watched, period, and I would highly recommend it. And then 100 Girlfriends, which is a legendary harem anime. It is super, super good, and I really want more of it. They have confirmed a season 2, which is very good. I'm very excited for this. Okay. So other shows that I would recommend, shows that are wonderful and unique. Apothecary Diaries is just fantastic. Just fantastic. Please go and check it out. And yes, magical. Yes, I'm glad for you reminding us. Yes, I am telling you all, you should watch Frieren. It's a very good reminder. I'm definitely not obsessed with that show. Oh, man. Okay, so in addition to this, I would also recommend Dark Gathering, just as a horror anime. In addition to that, I also really enjoyed Magus Bride. I think season 2 was really good, and if you already enjoyed season 1, I think you'll like season 2 as well. In addition to that, we've got some battle shonen. So we've got Undead Unluck, which is technically a bit of a dark comedy, but it's got a lot of battle shonen to it. And then Shangri-La Frontier. It's just a big turn your brain off. Enjoy the spectacle, watch the fun fights, have a good time. In addition to that, some feel-good shows are My New Boss is Goofy, and then Spy Family. I think Spy Family just continues to be a really good feel-good series. So yeah, I think that these are kind of my biggest highlights. And again, you all have recommended such good stuff, and I haven't been able to watch everything. So yeah, my plan is I am going to be putting together my favorites of 2023. In fact, I had actually planned on having that ready for today. I was going to go through all of those, and I'm so sorry that I don't have that ready. You will see at the end of this presentation what actually took up a lot of my time, but look forward to a drawing stream in the near future. Something that I did last year and something that I've really liked doing in the past is making an illustration that features all of my favorite series from the year, and it would be really fun to hang out and talk about why I love those series while I draw. So I think that would be super good. But this will give me a chance to go through some of the shows I haven't had a chance to watch yet, and then I'll share my absolute favorites with you all. So it'll be good. And yes, indeed, a drawing stream. I think at this point, as much as I want to make sure that I do that this month, it's probably still not happening until February. That'll give me enough time to actually watch some of these things. Like, I still haven't watched Pluto. I need to watch Pluto. I can't believe I haven't done that yet. But yeah, anyway, I need to watch a lot of this. So, yeah. It will be good once we do get around to it. Okay. It's time. Now that we've left fall 2023, we've entered the new year, and it's time to talk about winter 2024 and some of the shows that I am extremely excited to recommend to you all. They will be very good. Yeah, exactly. During drawing streams, I tend to go on a lot of tangents. I also really like doing drawing streams. I haven't been able to do as many as I had hoped. Things got kind of busy. A lot of the drawing that I did was off stream. You all will see the results of that, hopefully in the nearish future, which is pretty exciting. But yeah, I think it would be fun to hang out and draw for a little bit, talk about a lot of anime that I love, and get distracted with a bunch of tangents, so I think it will be good. Okay, now that we've entered winter 2024, it's still weird to say. I keep saying 2023. At some point I'll remember it's the new year. Okay, I think I've been good so far. I've remembered which year it is. So first off, I figured we're going to do things kind of in reverse. I'm actually going to cover the sequel corner first, because this way I can talk through some shows that if you've already watched the first season, this way you'll know that a second season is out, and I can also talk about why you might be interested in checking out this show if you haven't checked it out yet. So the first show that has received a sequel for this particular season is BokuYaba. I love BokuYaba so much. Oh my god, I'm so happy. I'm so happy with this animation. It has been so good. Okay, so I have been a very big fan of BokuYaba, the manga, for a very long time. I talked a lot more about this in a previous anime seasonal stream, so I don't want to repeat too many of the same points, but the short version is that this series is a really good representation of what it's like to be a middle schooler trying to fumble your way through getting older and like making connections with people and feeling more confident in yourself and falling in love. And it's so good and it's extremely wholesome and I love it to death. It is so wonderful. As a result, I will say it does hit home pretty close, especially if you look back on your middle school years and cringe at them. I think we kind of all do. There there's definitely some very realistic things with some of the things the character does. For those of you who haven't heard me talk about the show before and are interested in checking it out, something I will say is that if you are checking the show out for the first time, please give it a chance. Get through the first 3 episodes. I know that you're going to start out being like, what is this main character? Oh my god. Oh my god. What is he doing here? He does start out as a little bit of an incel, and he starts growing as a person, and it is really satisfying. And so I would just ask for you to get through the first couple episodes and get to the part of the show where you get to see him growing as a person. Honestly, you kind of already get to see that in the first episode, but yeah, it's really, really, really good. So please give it a watch if you haven't already. And if you didn't know that this got a second season, the second season is here, and my god, it is still absolutely fantastic. They're diving into some of my favorite parts of the manga, and I'm so excited. Oh, I'm so excited. You all, soon you all will meet one of my favorite characters. He is quickly approaching. He has been spotted in one of the most recent episodes, looming, very tall, very bear-like. I might have taken some inspiration from this man's design in the manga when I was making Bear's design. I might love this character a lot. So anyway, you should go and check it out. It's quite good. This man is very tall. Very, very tall. And yeah, anyway, I'm very excited for you all to properly meet this character. He has only shown up briefly, and it's wonderful. Oh god. Okay, so yeah, one other thing I want to say is that the OP is a banger. Like, the OP from the first season was really, really good. This OP, like, is next level. It's absolutely fantastic. Oh my god. Every time I watch it, I just get so emotional. It's fantastic. So yeah, anyway, highly recommend this series. If you haven't checked it out, please go and check it out. I think you will enjoy it quite a bit. Okay. Some of y'all guessed I was going to talk about this. And you were correct. Mashle is getting a second season, and oh boy, it's fantastic. It's very good. Very, very good. Oh, and don't apologize, y'all, if you're late. You're totally, totally fine. Totally, totally fine. Yeah, I would say the OP, I would go and check it out. You can check it out on YouTube. It's excellent. It's very well animated. The music is very good. I love it. I think y'all will enjoy it. So yeah, and you all can decide if you think it's Oshinoko level. Oshinoko had a really crazy good OP. But yeah, I still love the OP for BokuYaba season 2. It's really good. But yeah, so Mashle's back. The hilarious comedy that's kind of making a mockery of the ideas from Hogwarts is back, and I love it. It's super funny. It's really great. It's highlighting a lot of really funny things that I was looking forward to them expanding on from the first season. And hey y'all. Speaking of OPs, the OP from season 2 of Mashle, is really good. Like, there's already GIFs of this. Like, it is absolutely amazing. It's perfect. It's perfect for the series. I keep listening to it over and over. It's just fantastic. It strikes the right balance of absurdity and also the tone of the show. It's so good. But yeah, the short version of the series is it's a comedy that's about a world that has a lot of people who can use magic, and Mashle cannot use magic. And he is trying to blend in a world that thinks that people without magic are inferior and should be taken out of this world, and that's bad. So anyway, it's surprisingly funny for a show with a premise like that. I would highly recommend checking it out. It's very silly and has lots of funny moments, so yeah. Goofy and vibey. Yes, indeed. But yeah, no, this OP is great. I love it. It's absolutely fantastic. Speaking of series that are getting season 2s, Tsukimichi is getting a season 2. I haven't talked about the show. I'm gonna talk about it more during our next anime roundup. But needless to say, this is technically a Kuso-Anime. But it's my Kuso-Anime. I love it. It's very, very good. I enjoy it a whole bunch. So if you have enjoyed any of the Kuso-Anime recommendations that I have made, either today or in my previous seasonal anime stream, and you've ever wondered what a show that is an isekai that is really fun and subversive while still being funny might be like, I would definitely suggest checking this out. And that's in addition to recommending Konosuba. Konosuba is really good as well. Oh, give me 1 second. Hold on. Bear is talking right outside of my office. Give me 1 sec. I'm gonna put y'all in the be right back. I'm gonna ask him to move real quick. He's on the phone with Bear's mom. I'll be right back, y'all, and I'll talk more about Tsukimichi. Alright, we're back. Sorry about that. I heard that picking up on my side. Y'all might not have even heard anything, so that might have just been a false alarm. My apologies. Okay, but anyway, we're back to Tsukimichi. Okay. So this is technically a Kuso-Anime. It is technically an isekai. Oh god. I was going to compare it to something, and then I'm worried about making people mad. I think I'm gonna do it anyway, because I think I need to just, like, get past this. It's a pretty reasonable take, I think. You heard nothing. Hide the evidence. Perfect. Perfect. But yeah, if you've ever wanted to watch a funny isekai that tries to subvert a lot of common tropes, and you've ever wondered what a good version of reincarnated as a slime might look like, I might suggest watching this. There's obviously a lot of differences between this and slime, but there's enough similarities that I can't help comparing it to that. And anyway, I really liked Tsukimichi, so yeah, it's good. Oh, y'all are so based. Yotsuba is so good. Oh my god, Yotsuba Toe. Oh, based. Y'all are based. Absolutely based. In my humble opinion, I think this is what slime could have been. I think this executes a lot of similar ideas in a much better way. So if you have liked some of my other Kuso-Anime recommendations, if you're in the mood for a funny isekai, if you're alright with a bit of a harem anime, go ahead and check this out. I think you might enjoy it. I think it's good. Oh man. But yeah, no, Tsuki, you know, I think that is such a good way of putting it. For those of you who like slime, if you like slime and you think it's a banger, but you still think that Tsukimichi is pure art, that's fantastic. I commend you. I salute you. But yeah, no, I think Tsukimichi's great. And it's getting a season 2, and it's been very good so far. I've been really into it. So yeah, I will talk more about this at length near the end of our seasonal anime review, just to talk about what I think about season 2 compared to season 1. But so far, my opinions are pretty positive about it, so That's good. I'm glad some of you like both. I hope that what I said wasn't too spicy. But yeah, no. I would recommend the series. It's very good. Okay. The next series I'm going to talk about is very different from the things that we've been discussing. So it's not a sequel. It is a romance, which is great. Oh, I'm always looking for good romance. It feels like sometimes it's hard to come by, but this is very good. A sign of affection. Okay, let's talk about this. This completely took me by surprise, and I'm delighted by this. Okay, so this is a romance series that features the extremely charming character Yuki, and Yuki is completely deaf. Even though she wears these hearing aids in her ears, it's mostly so that she can communicate to other people that she's deaf. It's not something that's actually helping her hear anything. It's something where some people with varying levels of deafness, you can have hearing aids that can help you hear some noises. In some cases, people can actually hear a surprising amount with these types of hearing aids, but Yuki doesn't hear anything. It's just there so that she can tap on them to indicate that she's deaf. If someone tries to talk to her, or if someone passes her by, they can see that this is what's going on. But yeah, this show is really good. Up to this point, a lot of the anime that I personally have watched that have featured people who have disabilities, it has done an excellent job showcasing the real world cruelty that's directed towards people with disabilities. And although this is really good, this should be shown. Like both of these movies, A Silent Voice and Josei the Tiger and the Fish, both of these are excellent. Like really, really good. If you haven't watched these, you really should. Like they are really important pieces of media, especially A Silent Voice. But also Josei is really good as well. So yeah, I would highly recommend checking these out if you haven't already. But if you come away from these feeling really sad about the world, and how cruel it can be to your fellow people, I have really loved this series, A Sign of Affection, because it's trying to showcase the joy of life and exploring new horizons. And that's wonderful. That's so lovely. Like, I don't know, I was really stunned the first time that I watched this. Like, I don't know, I genuinely didn't expect it to take that turn. Maybe I've watched too many sad things and I was expecting this to just punch me in the gut. But it's, I don't know, I guess it's punched me in the gut with love instead. It's been very, very good. Yeah, no, it's the world is cruel, but we don't have to be like that. And that's what this show is trying to represent. And I think that's really, really cool. It's also really beautiful. Like, oh my gosh. I know some of the character designs are going to be very different from what you would normally see in a lot of anime. Some people aren't the biggest fan of it. Some people have been a big fan. I think that it's really pretty, and I've been really into the episode so far. So there's a couple things I do want to say though. This is not to say that this series doesn't still tap into some of the casual cruelty that can be displayed towards people who have disabilities. Something I will say about this though is that it's a lot more subtle in this show. And I think that is good. I think that is extremely true to life. But when I was looking through comments and people talking about this show just to see what people thought about it, because I am not deaf, I don't have a disability in that regard, I wanted to see what people who actually were deaf thought about this series. And so I looked through a lot of comments online, people talking about it, and by and large, people really, really liked it. And they thought it was a very good representation. There was a couple of things like head patting, which people thought was a little bit something you probably don't want to do unexpectedly to someone who is deaf. But by and large, it has come across as very charming. Something I did see, though, and not from people who were deaf, but people who were talking about the show and using tropey language or tropes to talk about it, I want to make something very, very clear, because this cruelty is very subtle, and I think some people have mistaken certain things that this character on screen does as being a tsundere. This man is not a tsundere. He is insidious. The things that he does, the things that he says, and the way that he treats Yuki are not how you should treat a person who has a disability. Oh my god, I cannot believe the things that this person says and thinks. It is absolutely insane. I could go on and on about the dichotomy between this character and the main love interest. Like, the main love interest is someone who is trying to expand Yuki's horizons, to show her that there is more in this world, and there's a place beyond just her hometown or her university that she can be a part of, which is really cool. Whereas this man wants to shrink her world. He wants it to be small. He doesn't want her to go out and experience things. And so I would say, don't refer to him as a tsundere. He is not. The things that he does are really problematic, and it's really important to acknowledge that. I saw that over and over when I was going through comment threads, and it was clearly driving me crazy. To the point where I needed to shout this out. I was actually very delighted when I pulled this up on screen and I saw some of you in chat being like, oh, I want to shake this person. Bless you all. He is, I'm not a big fan of him, but I think that it's good that he exists in the show, because it's important to show the very subtle ways that people can try to make your life difficult. And I want folks to toss away thoughts of tropes, toss away thoughts of, oh, he's the tsundere in the show. No, he's not. He's not a good person. So yeah. I think this series does such a good job of throwing away tropes like that and instead replacing them with very wholesome, endearing things. So yeah, it's very, very good. Oh, and yes, I did already talk a lot about Frieren at the very, very beginning. So if you go and check that out later, when the VOD goes up, or I think I do have the DCR set up as well, so you can go back to the beginning. I talked a lot about Frieren. You're in good hands. So yeah, but yeah, this show is really good. I would highly suggest checking out A Sign of Affection. It's really endearing, and I'm super excited to see where the series goes from here, because so far, it's been really good. I've been extremely impressed with how this has been put together, and I would highly, highly recommend it. It's very good. Okay, the next show that we are going to talk about is one that I've been very excited to talk about. I actually talked a little bit about this show when I talked about going to New York, because I was able to see the first 2 episodes of this when I went to Anime NYC. It's Delicious in Dungeon, or Dungeon Meshi. I am obsessed with this series. It is extremely good. Oh my god, y'all. Dungeon Meshi's amazing. No, it's not solo leveling. I need to level with you all here. I need to level with you about solo leveling. I know that some of you have actually checked out the original. I don't know if it was a manhwa or if it was a webtoon first. I know some of you have checked out the original. I have not, so I only have the anime to watch. And so far, I can't make an assessment on it for myself personally. The show hasn't really started yet, you know? It's kind of winding up. So yeah, I will have some thoughts on that for when we do our seasonal anime roundup the next time. But weirdly enough, 2 episodes is not enough for me to assess solo leveling. It's taken its time winding up to that, so. Oh, it was a webtoon and then a manhwa? All right. So it was both. I am really glad to hear that some of y'all agree that, like, that's the thing. I wish that they had made it like a 1 hour premiere. Cause like, put all of the important stuff in the beginning. Cause like, the fact that we're on episode 2, like I've finished it and I'm like, okay, so, yes, go on. Is this the gimmick? Is this the main part of the show? The OP is ridiculous. It's really good. Like, the OP is making me think this is going to be an incredible show, but like, they gotta get to it. They gotta get to it. They're winding up very slowly. But yeah, anyway, I will have some thoughts for that. So yeah. Episode 3 indeed will be the make or break. And that's the thing. I don't know how I'll feel about it. We'll see how it goes. Okay, sorry, I got distracted talking about the solo leveling. We're gonna talk about Dungeon Meshi, y'all. Okay, I love this series. I love this series so much, and I'm going to pitch this to you if you haven't already watched it, or if you vaguely knew about it but you're not sure what it's about. I'm going to explain it to you now, and then you will understand why this series is fantastic. Okay, so Dungeon Meshi. It is a story about a group of adventurers who are braving an ancient dungeon, and there are some interesting twists in this dungeon. For one thing, within this ancient dungeon, adventurers, if they happen to die, they can still be resurrected, just so long as their body in some capacity still exists. There is a bit of a high price for this, monetarily, in a lot of cases. There will be people that are posted who can resurrect people, or you might have someone in your party who can resurrect people. But that's something to keep in mind, a bit of an interesting, somewhat morbid thing within this ancient dungeon. In addition to this, the monsters within this dungeon, they can be eaten and turned into delightful dishes. This is a shot from the series showing an absolutely delicious looking pie. I want to consume this very badly. But because they are monsters, very few people are brave enough to actually do so. And this causes some conflict as our adventurers are trying to make their way through this particular part of the dungeon. And yeah, all of this combines together to make a series that is part dark comedy, part gourmet food appreciation, and part cosmic horror. And if y'all have listened to me talk about some of the shows I love all of these things. I love them so much. So yeah, this series is like, it's wonderful. I adore it. I'm mildly obsessed with it. It's just got a little bit of everything that I love. Oh, I'm so sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for making you hungry. I always get hungry whenever I'm reading the manga for this, and now I get hungry watching the anime too. So yeah. Speaking of which, I have been a long-time reader of the manga, and I was extremely excited when I saw this was getting an anime adaptation. And I was a little worried because the art is really good in Dungeon Meshi. Like, look at this demon. Look at how good this looks. The food is all fantastic. It's also got like a very interesting pace to it because it has some slower moments and it has some moments that are action-packed. It has actually adapting that would be pretty difficult. And yeah, Studio Trigger are the ones who picked this one up. Studio Trigger generally do really flashy pieces of animation. So they're responsible for Little Witch Academia, which I absolutely love. It's very, very good. The original 2 movies are super good, and I watched all of the anime series, even though I would argue the movies are probably better, but I still liked the anime. It's very good. Very pretty. They did Kill la Kill. They also did Cyberpunk Edge Runners, which, yeah! Very, very good. So, if you imagine this studio, when I first heard that they were the ones in charge of this, I got a little bit worried, because there are definitely some flashy moments of Dungeon Meshi, but it's got a lot of solemn moments too, some quiet or calmer moments, and there's so much of it that is heavily based around the food. Well, I can tell you, after having seen it at Anime NYC and then seeing more of it now, they absolutely nailed it. It's so good, y'all. It's absolutely incredible. They nailed all the parts of it. The comedy is perfectly timed. The food, incredible. I want to crush it. I want to absolutely crush it. It's so good looking. All of the characters are interesting. They're doing a really good job of trying to lead you down into the dungeon, presenting interesting questions of, why can you resurrect in this dungeon? What is this dungeon? What's going on here? What's at the bottom of this dungeon? And it's very, very good. Yeah, every time they cook, it's so good. Oh my god. Oh yes. Oh my god, Marcy, from this, we've gotten some really good elves in the last couple of seasons, and this Dungeon Meshi is no exception. Also, like, the different dubs of her are absolutely fantastic. They're super, super good. So I watched a compilation of the German dub for her on Twitter, and it made me laugh so hard. It was fantastic. It was so good. But yeah, I'm watching this with the Japanese dub, and it's just wonderful. Absolutely fantastic. Ooh. But yes. Let them cook. Let them cook this absolutely wonderful anime. So yeah, if you are wanting to watch something that is hilarious, that's well animated, that is a damn fun ride, I would highly, highly, highly recommend this. It also really, the plot really starts taking off here in a little bit too, which is very exciting. So I'm very much looking forward to how many parts of this will be adapted. It will be very, very good. Oh god, yes, no, I've heard the English dub is also very good. That's always a good sign, right? When they've got a lot of good dubs for this. I love that. I think that is absolutely fantastic. Okay. The next show I'm going to talk about is also related to food. It's also related to a long-running manga series that I have also been reading for a very long time, and was also excited but nervous about how it was going to be adapted, because I felt like there were a lot of ways that this could be screwed up. Let's talk about 'Tis Time for Torture Princess. This, the title is very interesting. It wants you to not know exactly what it's talking about. And for the sake of your enjoyment, I am going to try not to spoil the main premise. I'm going to still explain a couple of things, but it's very, very good. I'm so sorry that I'm making y'all hungry. I am torturing you all here. I'm so sorry. Oh my god. Oh my god. Yes. No, it is exactly like the Sleepy Princess one. I really love Maojo de Oyasumi. It's one of my favorite manga series ever. I cried a lot when it was animated. I hope it gets a season 2 at some point, but I'm also okay just reading the manga. I'm kind of obsessed with it. Oh no! I'm making you all hungry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I promise we'll get through this quickly. So sorry. Okay, let's hop into this. Okay. All right, so without spoiling too much, what you need to know, the basic premise of this series and why it is worth watching, in my opinion, is it centers around humanity's princess. She has been raised as a soldier to fight the demon army. It might be fair to call her a child soldier. In fact, she is not a child any longer. She has grown up, but she has lived a very hard life, not experiencing a lot of joys or small pleasures in life. And the thing that happens relatively early in the series is that her life as a soldier, it might be over now. She might not be fighting a lot anymore. And as the series progresses, you get to see how she transitions out of that part of her life and starts growing into her own person. It is really, really good. despite that kind of sad, dark premise, I would say that the series is ultimately a comedy. It's very subversive. It's trying to play with your expectations and toss them to the wind. But even once you've gathered what the gimmick is, the series still has a heart of gold. And every episode, it makes you want to see this smile every single time. Like... The delight that I feel watching this girl be happy is immeasurable. It's wonderful. I never get over it. It's so good. It's so good. You get to learn a little bit more about her every time, and even after you've figured out the main gimmick of the series, you still get something out of every episode. There's still something new to learn about her, something new for her to learn about herself and to grow, and I think it's very, very good. And that's the thing. The series definitely has a gimmick to it. As someone who's read a lot of the manga, though, if you're the type of person that I am, where watching this person smile and learning more about her and the other characters makes you happy, you will continue watching it. And if you do get tired of the gimmick, ain't nothing wrong with that. You still watched it a little bit, that's totally fine. But I can say as someone who's read a lot of the manga, it's very good. And I'll still keep watching it. So if you want a series that has great comedy, good vibes, and oh boy, does it have some fantastic food, you should check out this show, but maybe have some snacks ready because it will make you extremely hungry. Every single time. I always make sure I have popcorn ready whenever I've got this up because otherwise I will be extremely hungry afterwards. In fact, just thinking about the show is making my stomach rumble, so... Okay. There's still a lot more series that are going to be coming out. These were just the ones that I wanted to shout out right now that I know for sure I can completely recommend. I think they're fantastic. I'm going to take a drink really quick because we have one more series to talk about. I talked about this earlier. We need to return to a series from fall of 2023, and we need to have a discussion about it. A discussion about some things. Before we hop into that though, everyone, it's hydration check here. Make sure that you get some drinks. And we'll hop into this in just a moment. Gin and tonic time. Yumie with a bottle of vodka. I'm not gonna lie, I thought about getting a drink for this part. I'm like weirdly nervous to talk about this. This is the thing that I have spent the majority of my time working on and researching because I wanted to make sure that everything we are about to talk about is as accurate as it possibly can be. This is unfortunately not a good discussion. This is unfortunately a bad discussion about a thing that is very important and we must still talk about. I promise this will not just be a bummer. We are going to have some positive things to talk about as well, but this is very important and we need to talk about this. I wanted to make sure this was at the very end, just so that we could take our time talking through this as we needed, and then I can still have some good positive things to kind of bring us back afterwards. Oh man. Okay. Before we wrap up our seasonal anime review, there is one more topic we need to talk about. So everyone buckle up, prepare yourselves. We are about to go on a journey together. There's going to be a lot of bumps along the way. You're going to learn a lot about the anime industry. If you didn't know some of these things already, you're going to come away with this perhaps having some different opinions about certain studios, about certain publishers and other things, but this is very important and we're going to hop through this together. So without further ado, it's time. we need to talk about MAPPA Studio. Okay. All right, y'all. So, MAPPA Studio, I have talked about them in past seasonal anime reviews. I've talked about them extensively in a lot of shows that they have created. I have talked about how incredible their animators are, how much love and sweat and blood and tears they pour into these shows, and how massively impressed I am with them. But it has recently come to light, much to my absolute dismay, that MAPPA is exploiting their animators. This is the worst case scenario. This is the worst type of thing to find out. These animators create some of the most impressive, beautiful animation, and it has been revealed as of November 2023 that their working conditions are horrible. Absolutely horrible. We need to talk about this. This is despicable. Okay, I'm gonna calm down. My blood is already getting up. Okay, MAPPA has been crushing up their talent with exploitative working conditions. This is horrible, absolutely horrible. A lot of the talent that is working for them, they are young people. They are talented people who are wanting to do incredible things, and they are being used by this studio. This is ridiculous. Okay. So I am going to walk you through just how ridiculous their working conditions are. The first Jujutsu Kaisen, back before this was a problem, they had 18 months of production. That's a long time. 18 months to produce one of the best looking pieces of anime? One of the most formative things of the last decade? They had 18 months. That's really good. That was the old MAPPA. Let's talk about what they have been doing since their success with Jujutsu Kaisen Season 1. One of the next big projects that they worked on was Chainsaw Man. I have talked about Chainsaw Man. I thought it was unbelievable. Some of the most incredible animation work I have seen in a long, long time. Very, very good restraint with a lot of the characters. There were insane amounts of cuts in it. So much impressive things. How long do you think they had to make Chainsaw Man? Because let me tell you, I was genuinely shocked when this was revealed. So for the original Jujutsu Kaisen, which again, remember how good that looked, how impressive that was from start to finish, they had 9 to 10 months to put together Chainsaw Man. That is half of the time that they had for Jujutsu Kaisen. That is completely ridiculous. And do you know what? It gets worse. It gets worse. We haven't even reached rock bottom yet, y'all. Half of the time. They created Chainsaw Man in half of that time. Can you imagine how much better Chainsaw Man would have been if they had the same amount of time that they had for Jujutsu Kaisen Season 1? That's less than a year. That's completely ridiculous. Okay. So Season 2 of Jujutsu Kaisen just came out. They put together Season 2, and again, I don't mean to keep coming back to this point, but I think it's important. The first season got 18 months. 18 months. The second season got 6 to 8. What is happening here? This is insane. The animators took to Twitter during the month of November, revealing all of this, and they confirmed that episodes of Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 were being finished right before they aired. They were being finished hours before the episodes went live. That is unacceptable. That is absolutely unacceptable. If you've noticed any quality issues with the second season of Jujutsu Kaisen, you might think about the fact that they were finishing some of the episodes right before they aired. They didn't have time. That is completely absurd. And you know what? I hate to do this, y'all. It gets worse. It gets worse. Do you know how much time they had to complete the movie? Jujutsu Kaisen 0? 4 months. 4 months. 4 months for a whole movie. They completed this in 4 months. This is ridiculous, y'all. This is horrible. This is some of the worst working conditions I have heard out of the anime industry. And there's a lot of problems with the anime industry, which we're going to talk about. Don't you worry, we're going to talk about that. You're going to learn so much about this if you didn't already. But these production schedules are frankly despicable. Even if they were getting paid highly for this isn't enough time. Clearly, if they're finishing episodes of this right before it airs, how do they have enough time to do anything? There were reports of staff who were working on Jujutsu Kaisen 0 where they just stayed at the office for days. They didn't go home. They just stayed there. Like, that's crazy. There isn't an amount of money that I think makes this reasonable. They need time. Like, you look at how much time they had to complete the first season, and it shows. That is incredible. It's fantastic from start to finish. They are being squeezed completely thin here. This is horrible. Like, they want you all to think about if they had been given more time to work on this. How much better would these shows have been? They were already amazing, but like, they weren't given that time. The fact that they completed these shows at all is incredible, but that is not praiseworthy. It's horrible. It makes me feel so sad that they're in these conditions. And here's the thing. I know I was talking about how these production schedules are despicable, even if they were getting paid highly. But guess what? They're not getting paid well for all this work that they're doing. They're having to crunch like crazy, and they're not getting paid for this. They are getting paid horribly. I have an example to illustrate this point. So in animation, something that I briefly talked about, but we're going to talk about a little bit more here, is cuts of animation. So a cut of animation is where you will focus on essentially like one shot. So this is a cut of animation here. This is actually a pretty complicated one. There's a lot happening. She's standing up, you're getting more of the background. There's a butterfly and flowers coming through here. This is time-intensive work. It takes a long time to do this. For an average anime, there's about 300 of these. Some particular anime will do more than this. Obviously, that's a lot more work to have more than 300 cuts, but each one of these cuts can be really time intensive and expensive to put together. It's a lot of work on your animators. So there's a prominent animator who has discussed what should really be standard for the industry on this. And generally, what's considered good, or like what should be a baseline, is at least 15,000 yen. Realistically, a lot of people should be paid more than this. A lot of people are not paid this, but they're paid closer to this. But 15,000 at least, but preferably higher, especially for more complicated cuts. I hope whoever did this cut that I'm showing here was paid well for this, because this was pretty complicated to put together. Yeah, it is pretty low. It's
if you think about it, 300 cuts is a lot. Some of them are not nearly as complicated as this scene. I would sure hope this scene got a lot more than that. But yeah, you can already see that's pretty low. But if you're on a relatively simple cut, it should go somewhat quickly. More complicated ones will take longer, and you would expect to be paid more. What do you think MAPPA is paying their animators? What do you think they're paying for these incredible cuts of animation? Is it 15,000 yen? Is it 10,000 yen? Oh, well, it's anywhere from 3,800 to 7,000 yen. You know, despicable numbers. Absolutely despicable numbers. Like, this is embarrassing. This is absolutely ridiculous. I cannot believe the people who made Chainsaw Man and Jujutsu Kaisen and the final season of Attack on Titan and and the second season of Vinland Saga, this is what they're being paid. This is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. This is embarrassing. I cannot believe this. So yeah, this is absurd. Absolutely insane. Yeah, I have no words for this. I cannot believe they're paying so little and making them work such long hours. By the way, I've talked a little bit about how they're producing a lot of anime series very quickly. Those were very quick turnaround times. MAPPA animators have been producing 5 to 6 series a year at a breakneck pace. They are specifically being hired and taking on projects that other studios don't want to do, specifically because there's not enough time and money to do them. But MAPPA is picking them up and their animators are doing it. That is absolutely insane. The money I just talked about, it's per cut, per one cut of animation. 3,800 to 7,000 versus 15,000. It's pretty abysmal. So yeah, if you've ever wondered why MAPPA were the ones who were taking on Attack on Titan, or taking on Vinland Saga, it's because they were willing to work for less money and do it faster. So yeah, this is absolutely ridiculous. What I do want to say is that all of these shows have made MAPPA a lot of money. These are very, very popular shows. These are shows that have received lots of critical acclaim overseas, not just in Japan. So yeah, where is all of this money going? How are they making so much money and none of it is going to their staff? That seems kind of absurd, right? Okay. We're gonna briefly talk about how is anime made and funded. This is going to be a very simplistic view of this. There are some other factors to consider here. Obviously, some of the money is going back to the original creator, which is good. We want them to be paid. I actually have been trying to look into how much of the money is going back to them because I'm very interested in that. If anyone has sources for that, please send them to me. I'd be very fascinated to know how much original creators are making from this, because I have a pretty good idea how much some of the other people are making. So yeah, let's talk about this. So at the very bottom, some of the people we've been talking about are the production staff. These are a whole bunch of people. It's not just animators. They're character designers, people who do in-betweening, people who do sound design, people who are doing a whole bunch of things for the production. These are the people who are not getting paid a lot of money. Something you should know about a lot of people who work at anime production is that they are considered independent contractors. this is a terrible, horrible thing where a lot of them are not considered employees of MAPPA. They are considered to be sole proprietors. They own their own animating skills, and they're contractors for hire. Yeah. Oh no is right. Independent contractors are heavily exploited all over the world because you can get away with not providing them benefits, not providing them a whole bunch of things, and it's also a lot harder for independent contractors to unionize because they don't know each other as much. So, yeah, that's already bad. We're at the base level and things are already bad. Okay, so let's talk about some of the other people involved in this process. So some of you guessed some of these things already, which is great, fantastic, we're on the right track. So we have studio executives. These are the people who are going to be picking up new projects. They're coordinating to get projects greenlit. In some cases, actually, in the case of Chainsaw Man, MAPPA technically funded that themselves, but ultimately the executives and the people at the very top, they still made that 9 to 10 month production schedule. They still didn't pay their animators. They're still responsible for this. Also, for Chainsaw Man in particular, that means that the studio executives got a lot more of the cut from that. But anyway, so they end up getting a lot of money for their services. But there is actually another entity within the anime industry that we need to talk about. They are called production committees. Production committees, you can kind of think of as investors. So they are the people who, for a majority of anime production, they are the ones who are deciding on the schedule. So they're deciding when the anime is going to air. They're deciding how big the budget is going to be. And they get an interestingly large cut as a result of that. So this is the hierarchy of things. And yeah, all of the money is kind of flowing. It's kind of flowing to these two entities. Production committees make absolutely insane amounts of money from doing this. Like, I have seen some estimates that state that 50% of the profits that are made go to the production committees. Obviously, that's not always the case, but that is kind of absurd. In return for being like, hey, we're going to greenlight this anime. This is your shoestring budget. You have no time and no money to put this together. Go, go! Chop, chop! Make us an anime. I don't know. That doesn't sit right with me. That's really not great. And unfortunately, this problem has only gotten worse. This is a problem that has existed in the anime industry for a long time. This isn't just a problem unique to MAPPA. They are one of the most egregious modern day examples, though, and I wanted to talk about this because this is a problem. The anime industry is plagued with capitalist exploitation. They are taking talented, passionate artists and they are exploiting them. They're taking advantage of the fact that a lot of these artists are really passionate about making anime, and they will continue to work through these horrible conditions until they can't anymore, until they're burnt out, and then some poor new person is dragged in. You've got industry veterans who are also trying to struggle through this. A lot of them are leaving some of these studios if it's too crazy. And yeah, and yes, no, the gaming industry is also pretty bad. That's a whole... There's this interesting thing with the capitalism, or it tends to be really bad for workers. It tends to be really terrible. And I think this is really important to talk about because a lot of this came out right in the middle of Jujutsu Kaisen airing last season. A lot of animators took to Twitter, one of the only places where they could air their grievances, and just let loose about how horrible their working conditions are there. It's terrible. It's awful to see this happening to an animation studio that I had been really impressed with. I loved the work that their animators did. I thought it was so beautiful, and it is still beautiful, but it's being done at the cost of the people who are making it. It's really awful. So, yeah. I've been thinking a lot about this. I first found out about this in November, and I've been trying to think about what to do about it, because this is not a new problem, but it's horrifying, and it's something that I don't want to continue. I want to do something. I'm an overseas fan. I'm not living in Japan, but I want to do something because I love anime so much. I want the people who make these beautiful series to not only thrive, but to live, to make the things that they love, and to be able to make a living wage without being ground up into the capitalist machine. Like, I don't feel like that should be a lot to ask for. So, what can we do about this? I've been thinking a lot about this. I've been thinking a lot about this problem. I've been reading through a lot of people's thoughts, animation directors, people who are familiar with political theory, people who have looked into the ways that people could organize in Japan, what you as fans can do, and I've got a couple of things. I actually do have some stuff. It's actually not nothing that we can do. There is something that we can do, even if it is screaming into the void. At least let me scream with you all. We will scream together and at least try to make this known that this is unacceptable. So, okay, let's talk through a couple of things. So, yeah, the people at the top are doing this because it makes them a lot of money. And in order to change that, there's some things that have to happen on a fundamental level. So the longest term, most real solution to this is industry reform. Obviously, this is the most optimal. It is the most difficult solution. However, it's not out of reach. It's something that a lot of those animators were going to Twitter talking about. A lot of people are fed up with this, and something that's been really nice about social media is it's allowing animators to actually talk with each other. Like, a lot of these people who are independent contractors who normally don't get to know that many other people, they are finally seeing that their struggles are not theirs alone. So there have been some talks and some frustration with people talking about going on strike. And I think that if that happens at any point in the future, we as fans need to support them. Unionizing, as I've mentioned, is tricky. It's not impossible, but it's something that people have been pushing for. It would need to be a lot of the industry that would do it, because some animators who have unionized in the past, they get blacklisted by studios, and that's despicable. But it is something that is possible. A lot more people are learning about unions. Union membership has been really low for the last 50 years because a lot of propaganda has pushed against it. Which is very unfortunate, but it is a possibility, and if enough people look into it, that is possible. What is more realistic, though, is individual studios going on strike. That is much more realistic, and that is something that some of the animators were hinting at quite a bit, that they wanted to walk off site and actually strike. You should know that in Japan, there are some pretty good protections if people go on strike. it is illegal to cross a picket line. You cannot do that. I went and double checked that in multiple places just to make absolutely sure. But unlike the country that I live in, where it is perfectly legal for companies to hire scabs and let people cross picket lines, that is not legal in Japan. If an entire studio were to go on strike, they can't do anything about that. Like, that's really cool. That's a lot of protection that they have. They could force the hands of the executives if they did this. They got pretty close to that in November. That is something that we need to support them with, because that is a very scary thing to do. To go on strike is putting your livelihood at risk. It's very scary to do that. You aren't making money during that time. If you have people in your community who are able to support you, who are able to keep you fed and make sure that your rent is paid, that is all the better. But we as fans, if a studio goes on strike, we need to support them, to let them know that we are here for them. There were some people who responded to the animators sharing all of these horror stories by telling them that they needed to suck it up, that this is just how the world is, and that it's not that bad, that they need to grow up and stop complaining about this. That's horrible. Oh my god, that makes me so upset. I cannot believe these poor animators were told this. And a vast majority of people were very supportive. But I want to reiterate this, because if this is something that happens, we need to support them. And yeah, if you are interested, I've actually got some links in the video's description to articles about this. I'll talk more about the sources that I got these things. But if you are interested in supporting these animators, especially if they go on strike, I will do my best to try and spread information if this happens, just so that we can support these people. Because a lot of times people do set up strike funds. This is a thing that has happened in my country. There's actually been some very big strikes that have happened that have been very satisfying. And a lot of people banded together to support the writers, the actors, the automobile manufacturers who were trying to go on strike, and made sure that they could pay their rent and that they could feed themselves. And I think that would be really good if that happens. So if this does happen, you will bet that your snake lady is going to be hunting all over the place for ways for us to support them. If there's ways to support them financially, we will absolutely do this. So yeah, it's oftentimes something that people put together for individual strikes. So it will be a strike fund. They will ask for donations just to help make sure that all of their members are able to live, you know, while the strike is happening. There is some really big cultural factors at play here as far as work culture in Japan. It's not just Japan, but it can be really scary to go out on a limb and to strike like that. But for whatever it's worth, I just want you all to know that it is a possibility. It is something they could do, and they would have better protections if they did do that. So yeah, if this does happen, I will let you all know. I really hope it does, because I think that would be the most immediate way to actually affect change. So yeah, this would be number one thing that would help immediately. Animators and staff going on strike, refusing to work, forcing the hands of studios to increase these production budgets, increase the schedules, pay their staff better. That would be fantastic. That is number one thing. The second thing, and this is going to be a little bit more specific to those of you who live in Japan, so this won't be the most applicable to most of us, especially since I know a lot of folks are from all over the world. But if you do happen to live in Japan, whenever the time comes for you to vote, you should try to vote for candidates who support labor reforms. There are liberal parties that exist in Japan. Unfortunately, since 1955, the Conservative Party of Japan has ruled pretty much exclusively. There was a 9-month period where they lost control, but they regained it again. They keep forming coalitions with other conservative branches, and although their control of the government is slowly decreasing, there are more seats that are coming from leftist groups. They are still the ones in charge, so it's always worth it if you feel really strongly about this. You should know that there are candidates who do support this. I have looked. I actually spent probably entirely too much time looking up if this was a realistic thing to suggest, because I don't want to just suggest to people like, oh yeah, totally go out and vote, it'll solve your problems. I think that is very applicable in a lot of places, but I didn't want to just say that carelessly, because this conservative party has had control of Japan since 1955. That's a really long time. That's kind of a terrifying grip on Japanese politics. And for whatever it's worth, it is always worth still voicing your discontent. If you write to the people who are in the Conservative Party who represent you, it's still worth just letting them know that you want this to happen. They are supposed to represent you. And even though they have by and large looked the other way and continued to let a lot of these corporations and production committees strangle the lives out of their employees, yeah, it's not a forever thing. There is always something to look forward to. There's always hope. There are other parties that exist that could actually do things. For the anime frames, indeed. Oh man. Yeah, one of the leading parties, who is the opposition, they're kind of like center left, but I've read a lot of their policies, and by and large, they would be in support of a lot of labor reforms, which is good. There's a couple of things that I think they could work on. But yeah, there are plenty of things that can be done just to actually move this forward. So yeah, that's my advice if you actually live in Japan. Try to vote for candidates who support labor reforms and also support these animators. A lot of things that they were reading, it was pretty horrible for them to feel like they didn't have the full support they would need. And so yeah, it's good. I think it would be fantastic if that ended up happening, so that's my 2 cents. I'm a snake lady who lives in a totally different country, so obviously take this with a grain of salt. But based on a lot of things that I have looked up and read up on, it seems like a lot of animators from Japan, a lot of animation directors, and other political experts think that these 2 things would be like pretty feasible. It's something that could happen and we should support. So yeah, that would be fantastic. Okay. Some other things that we can do. So as far as tackling production committees themselves, a lot of that would have to come from labor reforms and strikes, right? That would actually tackle their bottom line. That would directly go after what's going on here. Now, as far as what we can do beyond that, there are 2 very big companies who distribute a lot of anime. They serve on production committees. Crunchyroll and Netflix are part of this entire system. They help to set budgets. They help to set production schedules. And although neither of them seem to be involved with these MAPPA incidents, it is still worth holding them accountable and insisting that they give larger budgets and more time for their productions. Like, this is a thing that can be done. They do not like bad press. They do not like you talking about them in this way, which I can understand. Not super great. But yeah, I'm gonna use my platform to tell you all that, yeah, it's never the worst thing to let them know that they should be doing this on social media. I might be mentioning them on my own social media for whatever it's worth, just to be like, hey, you all need to do better. This is something where you can't be part of the problem. Like, even though they're only 2 pieces of this entire puzzle, it's really something that they should be more responsible about. In addition to this, in case you were curious, I was not able to find a way to contact Netflix directly besides their customer service, which is very annoying. Netflix, let me have some way I can contact you or send you a letter, damn it. But Crunchyroll does. Crunchyroll does have a way you can send them stuff. So if you're comfortable doing so and you feel very strongly about sending them a message, you can do the thing that I did and send them a request. You can send them a request on their website. This is the URL. Is strangely difficult to send this, so that is why I am posting the URL here. I have highlighted the section that might be different for your country. But yeah, this is something you can do. I would like to say, obviously, be polite. Don't threaten anyone. Snack Lady, even though Snack Lady is calling for revolution, be polite. Don't harass people. These are all just suggestions for taking action. I don't want to, send any hate mobs necessarily in their direction, if you know what I mean. But yeah, I would say that if you feel strongly about this, this is something that you can do. And, yeah. I might have sent one of these earlier today. I might have written a little bit of a thing and sent it to Crunchyroll. I had some grievances that I needed to air with them. I had written them before about past grievances, but it had been 2 years, so I figured it was time. It was time I should send this again. So anyway, I was a little more pointed on this one, so I figured I'd read this to you all, just so you get a kind of vibe for what I sent to Crunchyroll. And again, this is going, obviously, to some poor employee who's gonna have to read through this. At the very beginning, I actually apologized. I said that I was sorry I didn't have a better place to send this, but that I appreciated their understanding. That I needed to air a grievance about the company. So anyway, here I am. I'm gonna use my platform here so you all can know what I said to them. And so this can be publicly stated as well. It doesn't just disappear into a mailbox somewhere. So anyway, this is what I wrote to Crunchyroll. As one of the largest distributors and investors in anime, Crunchyroll has a responsibility to ensure that they are not complicit in worker exploitation in anime production. And I am concerned that this is not the case. I've read multiple accounts that your translation staff are not paid a living wage, making anywhere from $80 to $200 an episode. Crunchyroll is one of the biggest international distributors and licensees of anime globally, making hundreds of millions of dollars annually. But none of this has reached your translators, who are the face of your company as viewers tune in to watch anime. Translation is the heart of your business, and it is frankly astonishing to hear reports that your staff are not being properly compensated. Myself and many others have also been horrified to learn that the employees at MAPPA Studio, and to be fair, maybe I should have called them contractors since they're not actually employees, but the employees at MAPPA Studio have been producing entire series in 4 to 8 months with barely any budget to spare. Although it appears that Crunchyroll has not been directly involved with these particular productions, Crunchyroll has been a member of production committees in the past and will certainly be a member of them in the future. Crunchyroll has a responsibility to ensure that production timelines and budgets are both fair and sustainable, and the situation at MAPPA cannot become the industry standard. I've been a longtime anime fan for over 20 years, but I cannot support the exploitation of workers, either locally or abroad, until you ensure that your translators make a living wage and that Crunchyroll will not contribute to worker exploitation in anime production. Then I will not be a subscriber of your services. And amen. I feel so bad. Some poor intern is gonna have to read that, but I wanted to voice it here at least so that you all could know that this was said. Even if this disappears in a mailbox somewhere, I'm screaming into the void. I'm screaming into the void and you all are here to witness it, I guess. So yeah, anyway. Man, they also dropped the ball with pre-con. You poor people. You poor people. There's so many things. And yeah, just like that, my any potential it's not like this was ever a possibility. But any potential Crunchyroll sponsorship has just evaporated just like that. I'm sorry, Yumie. Yumie seems like a very nice person. It's not her fault that the company she works for is exploiting workers all the time. But yeah, anyway, fare thee well. So yeah, in case you weren't aware, there have been some unfortunate things that have come forward about Crunchyroll not paying their translation staff. I have sent them grievances on this in the past. I actually canceled my subscription service at the time that I learned about that. I have just returned to tell them that I will continue to not be a subscriber of their services until they fix this. Like, I don't... And here's the thing. I don't want to make any of you feel bad if you continue to subscribe to Crunchyroll. That's not the point of this. I'm saying this is a decision I have made for myself. And this is a grievance I have aired for us all. And if you want to air it yourself, the link is on the last page as well. So yeah. Anyway, and that was that. It was a thing that I needed to share with you all. I'm sorry that you all had to listen to me ramble about this for a while, but this is very important. This is a really big problem. And something else I want to mention, and I actually saw some of you mention this earlier, which makes me really, really happy, is that you should support studios who do fairly treat and compensate their staff. Because despite all of this, there is actually a studio that does this. There is a studio that cares about their staff, that wants them to live good, happy lives, to be fairly compensated, and to not be overworked. And that studio is KyoAni, or Kyoto Animation. They are absolute behemoths in the anime industry, but if you have noticed, they don't produce a lot of anime, and that's because they pick and choose what they're gonna work on and then make sure that their staff have enough time to do this. They have actually been recognized by a lot of organizations, commending them for not only how they hire a lot of women, making sure that they are fairly compensated and that they have and will always have a place in the anime industry, because there are a lot of women who work in anime and they are not always fairly compensated. KyoAni has made it a point to make sure that not only are these women compensated, not only do they have lots of jobs here, they have on-site nurseries where people can have their children stay. So women who have started families, or anyone who have started families, they have some place where their kids can be during the day. That is a crippling thing for families who want to have a child. It is so difficult to be able to afford somewhere where their kid can go while they're working. A lot of times women, not just in Japan, but in a lot of places, drop out of the workforce just to take care of the children. And that means that a lot of women might not be able to re-enter the same jobs that they have. They will have had some time away. They'll have a gap on their resume. Some people will only be able to work part-time, and it's so sad. But KyoAni isn't like that, and I love them for it. KyoAni has been through hell and back. Of all studios, and no studio deserved what happened to KyoAni, they were the subject of a horrific arson attack. I think that was back in 2017, 2018, and a lot of their staff died. And they have still risen from those ashes to still be one of the leading forces in the anime industry. It is so good. I'm getting emotional. KyoAni is amazing, and I wish that everyone was like them. I think it's kind of ridiculous that there aren't more studios that are like them. Something that I wanted to mention here. Oh, sorry. I'm gonna collect myself. Okay, all right, we're doing good. Okay, all right. Moving to the next slide. Okay, I find this particular thing a little funny because in an interview with the online publication Natalie.mu last November, the same month when all of those MAPPA animators were going to Twitter and talking about how horrible their working conditions were, that same month, the CEO of MAPPA, Manabu Otsuka, stated that he wanted MAPPA to be an industry titan like KyoAni and Ufotable. And I can't help but laugh at that. It feels like he has completely missed what makes KyoAni the industry titan that it is. Like, it's not by grinding their staff into dust. It's not by doing that. It's interesting too because Ufotable is actually a pretty good one to shout out here. Y'all are right on it. I'm so happy that y'all are on top of this. That some of y'all are familiar with this. But if you aren't familiar with this, which I wasn't for quite some time, Ufotable, they also don't take on a lot of projects. They take their time with the projects that they do work on, which is fantastic. They might have done a wee bit of the tax evasion though. They were caught holding on to a lot of money that they should have paid in taxes. Thankfully, that has been remedied at this point. But yeah, you can kind of give the stink eye to some of their executives for that. They claimed they were holding it for a rainy day, but no, that's not how that works. Unlimited tax evasion works. Indeed, indeed. So anyway, that's a bit of a black mark on Ufotable, but at least they do take their time on projects, and from what I have heard, they do, yeah, try to pay their staff as best as they can. W Audio, I mean, who hasn't done a bit of tax evasion? Oh man. Well, these executives surely have. Oh god. But yeah, no. But yeah, it's not great on that side, but they do take their time with this. And so it is kind of mind-blowing that the CEO of MAPPA has looked at KyoAni and they've looked at Ufotable, and his first thought was, yeah, we need to produce a lot more anime. I need to take on all the projects that I can. I need to take on projects that even Wit Studio turned down. That even Wit Studio was like, excuse me? You want us to make the final season of Attack on Titan in how much time? With how much money? Excuse me? And then MAPPA was like, oh, we'll do it. MAPPA CEO, yeah, of course, we can grind our staff to do that. Oh yeah, it'll be totally fine. But yes, no, pay your taxes, everyone. Paying your taxes is good. It sucks, but it's good. It funnels back into making sure that schools and roads and infrastructure and all sorts of things are paid for. It's important. So anyway. But yeah, all I can say to the MAPPA CEO is, you're not going to become like KyoAni and Ufotable if you destroy your staff. And by destroy your staff, I mean destroy the independent contractors that you are exploiting. So yeah, it's super messed up. I love anime, and I want to keep enjoying it for a long, long time. And that means that this industry has to be sustainable. Like, we cannot keep grinding these people up. We cannot keep taking talented people and turning them into mulch just so we can make more anime. I know I have talked about a lot of shows today. I've talked about a lot of things that I love and how great it is to watch so many great shows. But I would always be okay with fewer shows where the animators and all of the staff involved have more time to produce them and they're paid more. I don't think that's a hard ask. We get so much anime as is. Like, I feel like this is a win-win. It can be really hard to keep up with all of the series coming out. I think it would be fine to have less. A lot less. That would be totally fine. So, yeah. It's no good. Oh god, yes, system philosophy, it's true. People who exploit these animators, like Crunchyroll and MAPPA, they may think they're doing what they love, so you don't have to pay much, and there are lots of people who can take their place. And yeah, that's a type of thinking that's really prevalent, especially in the arts. Not just animation, but you all mentioned video gaming. There's a lot of people who make art in a lot of capacities that are very passionate about it, and a lot of them are exploited. This is one of the most egregious examples, and it's something that I really want to do something about. That after doing a bunch of research, it was reassuring to see that there is actually something to do, that there is something, at least, even if I'm screaming into the void, at least there's something I can do to let you all know this is happening. If you all see the animators go on strike, I will be looking for this just to let you all know so we can stand by and support these people because they deserve better. This is completely ridiculous. So I know this was kind of a wild way to wind down our anime review. But yeah, I really wanted to spend time talking about this. I think it's really important, and I'm really, really glad to see that you all think this is important too. I know this is really hard to talk about. It's really sad to see that this is happening to animators, to people who make the things that I love the most. But I think that's why I wanted to talk about it, because this is really important. To stand by your fellow workers, to make sure that people are being fairly treated and paid, and that they can still live their lives. And to show you that there is a path forward. There are studios that do this already. We just need more of them to do this. It's completely ridiculous that this is not already the case. Oh god. Y'all are wonderful. I'm glad that y'all have enjoyed this. Oh god. It's rough. It's absolutely rough. Okay, so if you came away from this wanting more on this subject, please give the following sources a read. I have summarized a lot of the work that's in them, but there is a lot more that's in there. There's all of the primary sources, so all of the interviews, all of the tweets that came from people, all of the animators and directors and other people who have talked about how exploitative this is. And yeah, it is well worth looking through. So I might have been researching this for a while. These were the absolute best things that I referenced for this. I thought they were really well written. I thought they did a good job summarizing things. Some of this stuff is just about anime production. And just how things are made. So I talked a little bit about cuts earlier. If you all want to learn about that, there's a article in here, Anime Production, a detailed guide to how anime is made, as well as the talent behind it. Y'all should check that out. It's really fascinating, and it walks through all of the different terms that you'll hear and what they all mean. So yeah. You know, Dohiwario, I actually was thinking about that as well. As soon as I was putting this together, I'm like, oh god, I don't know if I should turn this into like a separate video or like a clip or something. And yeah, if you all want to, I feel bad just having all of this here on the screen. Actually, in the description of this video, I have links to all of these sources. So all of these articles, they are all in the description to this video. So you can either look up the stuff on the screen, or you can go to the description, and I've got links there if you want to go and check these out. But yeah, a lot of really hard work from all of these people went into researching this topic, and this video would not have been possible without this. So yeah, I'm really glad y'all were very receptive to listening to me rant about this. I don't know why I was nervous about this. I guess it's because it's a really rough topic. And part of me felt bad because I didn't want to, like, I don't know, make you all despair along with me, but at the end of this, I felt a lot less despair, feeling like there were things that I could actually do and that there were good examples of the anime industry to look to. So yeah, I'm glad you all think that this was good. Oh my word, y'all are fantastic. Oh man. You thought I was nervous because of... Yeah, no, there are definitely other harem shows to talk about. Don't you worry, we will talk about all sorts of wild things. Yeah, I think, God, that's a good way of putting it. It's not an easy topic, but generally important things are never easy in this way. And so I'm glad that I was able to talk with you about this and just share some good news and some things that we can look forward to try and support people. So, yeah. Joke's on you. Been despairing over this since years ago. Oh man. Looks like I'm in good company then. Oh god. Okay, so if you've come away from this and you're still looking for something to help wash out that nasty taste in your mouth, well, I got something for you. In fact, I've been subliminally trying to plant it in your brain this entire time. I've been showcasing clips from it and screenshots just leading up to this moment where I would reveal that you should watch Shirobako. If you haven't watched Shirobako already, it's phenomenal. Like, even just the first 12 episodes, just watch the first core. It's really good. It is a series about anime production. It is very eye-opening. It is very, frank with how brutal it is. It also showcases an anime where they are literally finishing it minutes before it's supposed to air. So, yeah. If I am being totally real, this probably won't actually wash the nasty taste out of your mouth that MAPPA gave us, that MAPPA cursed us with. This is ridiculous. But yeah, I would still suggest watching it. It will help to solidify some of the topics that we've gone over, especially if you're not super familiar with some parts of the anime industry. This series is fantastic. And if it helps, it is comedic, but there are still times when I watch it where I'm like, oh, damn. Damn. Oh, it's rough. So if you come away from watching Shirobako and you're like, you know, I do actually need a pick-me-up, Yumie. That was very good. I'm happy I watched that, but I do still need something to make me feel better. Well, that's what the rest of this presentation was for. I wanted to put this last so that you would be able to go back through the rest of this and you would be able to see that there's still wonderful anime that you can watch. And just to keep in mind that we should fight for better working conditions for all of these animators, because it's not just MAPPA that has these problems, the industry does. And KyoAni is at the top. We want to bring everyone up there. We want to bring them all up. Yeah, no, this was at the end of a seasonal anime review. We kind of pivoted. We took a hard left turn there. Oh my god, Tofree, thank you for the gifted memberships. Y'all are very sweet. Y'all are very, very sweet. But yeah, this is my best recommendation, is that I spent a lot of time watching a lot of anime, and I love anime. And if you want a palate cleanser, go back through and check out some of the shows I've recommended. See if something sounds fun. Go watch that. Go and enjoy yourself for a little bit, because there is so much good in anime, and I want more of that. I want the people who make it to be living their best lives. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say on that. There is a silver lining, that there is hope here. There is plenty of good things to still look forward to. So yeah, it's very, very good. Oh man. Okay, so that did still end up taking me an hour. I think that was an hour. That was still an hour. I knew it.
planning this out, I was like, oh man, this is like 20 slides, but I'm gonna end up talking a lot about this. So yeah, I'm very glad that y'all were able to listen through this, that it is something that has resonated with you. I think that is good. I'm glad it was a good hour. You know, that's the thing. The actual, like, the amount of time we've been here has been almost 3 hours. But, like, just me talking about this problem, I think that it has been exactly an hour. So, yes. You know, that's true. It is good to get my anger out. I'm glad that it was worthwhile. Oh, man. Time to pivot to hour-long video essay content. Perfect. Perfect. That's what I would do. I'm glad this was worthwhile. As you can tell, I've spent a lot of time thinking about this because I really... Even if certain things are a long shot, even if there's a lot of changes that need to happen, the fact that there are concrete things that could happen to actually change this problem, it makes me really happy. It makes me feel like there is a path forward. And again, it is really nice to see studios like KyoAni, and to some extent Ufotable, just stop doing the tax evasion, Ufotable, and then I can talk about you more kindly. But yeah. They at least take their time with putting together shows, and they will pay their staff better, which is good. Exactly, there is always hope. It is fantastic. Oh, I'm glad that it doesn't even feel like it's been that long. Honestly, I'm actually feeling pretty good after this. I have to tell you all, I have spent so much time over the last couple days putting all of these slides together and like double and triple checking that all the information I was giving you was correct. Cause like, this is really important. And I wanted to make sure that the figures I was giving you were correct, that the things that we could actually do would be correct, certain laws that I was citing were correct. So yeah, I'm really glad that I was finally able to share this with you all, because I think it's really important, so. Is that why you made us wait a week? Yeah, there were 2 reasons for that. I knew I would need some time to put this together, and boy howdy did I need time. The other reason is that I was still editing Lore Archive. I was still working on it. I might have been working on it through Saturday. There was some things I had to make sure they were still working, and my editing software was lagging like crazy. It was fighting me. It was a battle. A battle with my editing software. Like right around the 3 hour and 20 mark, it just started fighting me like nothing else. And I had to separate the files into 2, actually I think I did 3 in the end. I had like the first 2 hours in one file, the next hour and a half in one file, and then it started fighting me again. And then the last half an hour was in its own file because I gave up. I was tired of dealing with the hour and a half one. It was so slow, it kept fighting me. I felt like it was gonna crash. And I have a decent PC. This is ridiculous. But yeah, I'm really glad y'all have been enjoying that too. As a result of me working on these slides, I still have a bunch of comments I need to go through. You all have been so kind. So yeah, I'm glad that y'all have, felt like this was worth the wait. I'm really glad I had the time to actually go through all this, so. F in the chat for Yumie and her dedication. Oh no, I don't want you all to worry. It just, oh god, this editing software, I swear to god. Sometimes, man, sometimes it just fights me. You can just feel it, it's just chugging and I'm like, stop. I have a powerful PC now, this is ridiculous. Fine, I'll make a new one with blackjack and hookers. A better editing software. Oh, thank you for hanging out, y'all, and listening to me talk about this, especially with how important this topic is. I wanted to give it the gravity and the time that it needed, so. Glad y'all liked my Futurama reference. I've been rewatching some of that recently. It's been good. Gotta love Bender. But yeah, thank you all. You all have been absolutely fantastic. Oh, you know I'm gonna demand alcohol after this stream. You know it. You know it. And I was watching y'all as I was talking through things and being very angry and reading through chat and your very sweet messages. I am so delighted that y'all have donated to KyoAni in the past, that y'all are in support of strikes, that y'all will be here to make sure that we can support our fellow workers. Power to the workers. That's all I want, man. I just want us all to live good lives. Live good lives, not be overworked, be fairly compensated. It's decent. Oh man, I've actually heard that from folks who don't even play Blue Archive, but you enjoy the lore videos. Oh, that makes me so happy. I'm really glad that y'all enjoy that. I know a lot of people, it can be really busy too, so even if you want to check out the lore in the game, sometimes life gets in the way, so I'm really glad that I can help to, like, I don't know, show you all that the story is wonderful. I've read a lot of really kind comments from people saying that they got even more invested in the game, and that's like a really big honor for me. Like, that feels really awesome. So yeah, thank you all. I'm really glad that y'all have enjoyed the lore videos. Oh god, that last one was such a crazy one to put together. Now I have to do the rest of Volume F. Look forward to that. I have a lot of work to do on that. But yeah, it's gonna be very good. Oh my god, we do need Minori in real life. We need a revolution. 3-day work week. Oh man, absolutely wonderful. Absolutely fantastic. You know, Volume F is quite long. I'm gonna have to work through it. It's gonna be okay though. Oh man. But yeah, thank you all for your patience on this. Also, thank you for your understanding. I know that this particular stream is a day earlier than I would usually do these, so thank you all for your understanding on this. There's a couple of things I have to get done this weekend, and I realized it would be kind of tight if I tried to jam this on Friday evening my time, so I bumped it back a day, and I'm really glad I did, because I was still able to talk about this. Also, on a personal level, one of my favorite VTubers is graduating tomorrow, and I'm going to be a hot mess. I'm just gonna be crying like most of the day, so you know, it's fine. She's gonna move on to something else. I will find her again. It will be fine, but it's still like the end of an era. Yeah, Pomu is graduating. I'm feeling choked up just talking about it. But yeah, I love her. I will follow her. Wherever she goes, I will find her again. But yeah, no, I am going to be devastated tomorrow. I'm already devastated. It's already time. I can't handle it. I haven't been able to, like, watch some of her streams recently. I'm gonna have to go back through and check out, because every time I try to watch, I just become a hot mess. And like, I'm just a fan. I'm just watching her. Like, I listening to her friends and her coworkers talking with her, and like all of them breaking down together. I love her. Like, Nijisanji will still continue. Like, I still love so many people who were there. I will just also, I will find Pomu again, and it will be okay. Everything will be okay. Oh god. God, her Metal Gear arc is just incredible. Going from someone who knew nothing about Metal Gear to being completely obsessed with it. I love it. I absolutely love it. Yes, we are Pomu. We are absolutely Pomu. There has also been a Hololive one. I've kind of been in shock about that, if I'm totally real. I am still stunned that she's gone. Mel is gone. I don't even know what to make of that. She has been at Hololive for almost 6 years, but some sort of NDA breach happened, and she's gone now. Just like that. I'm glad she was at least able to say goodbye to her fans, but like, it feels like an empty hole. Like, it's horrible. I really wish that things had turned out differently there.
It also apparently came as a really big shock to everyone else. I feel horrible for all the people in the first generation of Hololive on the Japanese side. Like, they were crushed. Like, think about that. You've been working with this person for so many years, and all of a sudden, she's just gone. I really, really wish if there was something that I could ask of Hololive and other companies, when you let someone go like that, I really wish they would keep up the archives. I can't believe that they're gonna private her channel at the end of February. That's 5, almost 6 years of videos and memories that's just gonna be gone. And thankfully a lot of people are archiving that. I think it's good. Like, I'm really happy that people will preserve that, but like, why? At the very least, like, the memory of her could stay, you know? That is something I highly disagree with. I hate it when they do that. I think it is completely ridiculous. Like, even if someone leaves on bad terms, can you not leave their content at least? Like, it's still there. Like, they existed, you know? Like, they did so many things. So yeah, it is really rough. You know, that is a fair point, Tofree. It does make it so they can't earn from her old videos. That's the thing though, some amicable relationships, like when, I almost said her new persona. When Coco left Hololive, or when Sana left Hololive, all of their videos are still there. Like, you can find them still. They still exist. And like, I wish that was more of the case. Like, it's really, really sad. I wish there was more agreements that would actually make that happen. I'm guessing that's part of the I don't know. It's part of the amicable, like the friendly leaving of the company, as they figure out some sort of agreement. But I wish they just like built that into the contract, right? Like, could they not just do that from the beginning? Or they're like, hey, if we let you go for some reason, we won't continue making money off of your content, but it'll still be available for your fans, you know? Like, it'll still be available. I think that would be good. So yeah, no, God bless the clippers, the archivists, the people who are actually doing stuff. Yeah. You know, that is an interesting point. Maybe they are still making money from Coco's videos. I don't know. I am very curious about that, but I feel like that would be something they could have one of their lawyers look over that, right? I don't know. Maybe I should send something to Hololive. I've already written a message to Crunchyroll. What could it hurt? I could send something to Hololive and be like, guys, can you like put it in your contracts where like you'll stop making money off of their videos, but like it'll still exist? Like, we can still watch them. It's also kind of helpful too, because like if someone leaves on bad terms, sometimes it can be like, I don't know, I want to say like cathartic to go back through some of their stuff and be like, oh, maybe there were some signs. Maybe I missed some of this, that they were unhappy, or that something wasn't going well. I don't know. It's kind of, I feel like it's important to preserve that sort of thing. I know. Good luck convincing anyone to listen to me. That's fair. But like, I don't know. I feel like it's something they could do. It's the least that they could do. Yumie clippers where, you know, I've actually thought about making my own clips channel. That would require me to like have more time though. That's a thing that some people do. For those of you who are in the fighting game community, Sajam has his own clips channel. Like, he has a main channel where he'll upload VODs, or he'll upload like shorter clips. Like things that are like maybe 5 to like 15 minutes and then full VODs. But then he has like a 30-second clips channel. And it seems to work out pretty well. I know there's some weird things on YouTube about clips. Some clippers have actually like gotten smacked by YouTube for doing clips. So I've been kind of nervous about doing it. Like having a second channel that would just be clips. But yeah, I don't know. That might be something that I look into at some point. Because I think if you change enough of the content, like if you do different music to go along with it, And I have software that lets me separate my voice from the background music. That's how I did the clip show for the 1 year Yumie-versary. I ended up taking the original stuff and then stripping out the music from it and adding in new music. Because I wanted it to pair with different parts. So yeah, I could do that, and then I'd have different music to go with it. That's true. I could also make them YouTube shorts, which I think that was the biggest thing I thought about doing. That just seemed like an easy thing to do. And then of course I always make these big projects for myself. Oh man. But yeah. No. And that's, no, Topher, you're totally fine. You're, no, I think it's very reasonable to make sure that people aren't being biased or narrow-minded. I think that is always fantastic. I don't know, I really appreciate y'all bringing that up so we could talk about it. Cause like, even if this is how their contracts currently are set up, it would be cool if they changed it and made it so that those channels would still exist. It would be very good. Very, very good. But yeah, dang, this was crazy, y'all. A tangent after, I don't know if I can call this last part a tangent. It was a heated discussion talking about some rough things in the anime industry. Oh god. But yeah, this was really good, y'all. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me, listening to me talk about a bunch of shows that I have absolutely loved from last season and from this season, and then some really important things to know about the current state of the anime industry and where we can go from here. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of positive things that can still come out of this. Yeah, exactly. Truth is uncomfortable, but it's a necessity. Infinite tangent works. That's me, Yumi Tsuchinoko. Unlimited ranting works. And thank you all. This has been fantastic. Please take care of yourselves. I will post a new schedule in the next coming days. And yeah, we're gonna do some fun stuff. We're coming up on the 1 year anniversary of the Yumi Tsuchitomo Discord server, which by the way, if you didn't know that was a thing, I'm trying to remember to actually plug that so that people know about it. There is a Discord server. We just did maintenance on it yesterday and it looks fantastic. So yeah, go check it out. I think y'all would enjoy it. Oh yes, thank you all for the recommendations. I shall go and check out your many recommendations. Thank you. Thank you. I've actually been writing them down as you all have been sending them, so thank you. I know, right? Can you believe it? I do have a Discord server. Is that not incredible? I definitely forget to promote it all the time. But anyway, I'm trying to do that more. So yeah. But yeah, our 1 year anniversary of the server is coming up. So I have some really fun things planned for that. I'm going to make some announcements in the coming days as far as what we're going to be doing for that. So you all can get prepared and start making some stuff towards that. There's plenty of ways for everyone to participate as we head towards the 1 year serverversary. That sort of rolls off the tongue. That's sort of a word. Serverversary. Oh man. But yeah, don't worry y'all too. You don't have to talk there either. A lot of people just lurk and that's totally fine. But yeah, it's good. It's really nice. I always try to post schedules there. And if you've ever wanted to check out a stream live and YouTube has betrayed you and hasn't told you that I'm going live, I actually have a bot in the server that will tell you that I'm going live. Which is good. It's a good reminder. It will ping you to let you know. So yeah, it's very good. Yes, the fellow lurkers. You are all in good company. All in good company. But yeah, so look forward to that. We've got some fun stuff coming up next week. And then we also have our members stream, which will be happening next Friday/Saturday for some of you. I'm going to be playing a game that I have not played on stream, a game I have talked about many times before, and I'll be playing it for the members, and I will have some slides. I will have another Yumie PowerPoint to walk you through the lore of this game, and then we will be hopping into a story, so it will be good. But yeah, look forward to that. I'll have the schedule for that out in the next couple of days, and then I will also have an announcement on what we're doing for our serverversary, because there's a couple of cool things for that. So yeah, it's gonna be good. Woo! Let's go! This was fantastic. Thank you all so much. PowerPoint, let's go! I'm so happy y'all get so excited over that. That's fantastic. Blue, oh my god, thank you for the gifted memberships. Y'all are too nice. Good god. Good god. Thank you. Thank you so much. Y'all are very, very sweet. Oh god. Oh! Oh! Some of you got it too, Seer. You got it. Oh my god. And yes, no, I will check out Frieren. Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, y'all are absolutely fantastic. Let's go. Okay. Absolutely wonderful. Oh, thank you all. I'm so glad. I'm so glad you all have enjoyed catching me live and hanging out and talking about the stream. It's good talking about anime and all these things that I love. It's very, very good. Y'all are wonderful. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. You all have an absolutely wonderful rest of your day, wherever you are in the world, and I will see you all very, very soon. Bye for now.